6:33, I'll call the meeting to order. Any additions, deletions to the agenda? It's a full agenda.
Not for me.
We expect Jeff will be here. We started early today, so plus the weather's not conducive for easy travel.
Very fun.
Maybe that's him. Is there anyone here for public comment besides what's on the agenda? Oh, welcome, Jeff. We just got started. First, the next item on the agenda, first item to take any action, is an applicant for our Trails Committee, Colin Hunt. So come on up and sit down, Colin.
Get the guest of honor seat.
In our packet, we had the application and your resume, I think. But maybe just give us a little, what's attracting you to the Trails Committee. And
I moved to Hinesburg a year ago. Joining the Trails Committee. I kind of just wanted to get involved, and I reached out, I think, to Renee and then
Yes.
Lenore last year just to see how I can help out with, trail maintenance and whatnot. But I think I've been involved with it this year, and Lenore nominated me to come forward, and I thought that would be okay. I could get involved with town politics a little bit, or at least activities.
And Lenore wanted me to pass on that she fully supports Colin. She wasn't probably going to be able to be here this evening, but she just wanted to say that she strongly supports having Colin.
As the chair of the. She's the
the
chair.
chair.
The chair of
So
the committee,
just to state that she's the chair. Yeah.
And we, I think in the last 25 years, the number of trails and the availability and the marking and the small bridges and everything, really, you can pretty much walk almost everywhere in town on trails
it's
now.
great. Yeah, I love
The
it.
interconnectivity,
It's definitely nice to have that in our backyard and be able to get around easily. But I think they're doing good things, and it sounds like it's a good group of people to be out in the woods with. So
That sounds great.
should be fun. Yeah.
Any other?
Have you been to any of the Trails Committee meetings and or events or initiatives? They're a very active group, of course. And can you keep up with them?
Yeah. I went to a meeting last year. Kind of just, I wasn't sure what to expect. I thought it might have been like a little different, but versus more this type of meeting where you're doing more the organizing part of it. And then kind of got on board with helping out for the Trails Day.
Yeah.
And then just got like drinks or something like that for that occasion. And then helped out a couple times in the summer and in the fall. Yeah, there's been a couple days going out to the town forest and Japrags and things like that, clearing things up.
Have you, in previous places you lived, been involved in committees or volunteer boards or any board work or of any?
Not really since like UVM. I worked in as the treasurer of Hillel in the UVM, and so that was 2 years of a lot of coordination of things. But besides that, I've lived in. I moved from New Orleans about a year ago. And just kind of getting settled in and know we're going to be here for a while. So, I think it's time to spread out, spread the roots.
Yeah, thank you for stepping forward.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I just got to say, for being here a year, you said, and to get involved, it's great. So thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a good time. So.
Yeah.
And I noticed that you're in the Cajun Army, the people that respond to emergencies.
I wasn't in the Cajun Army, but I volunteered with them after Baton Rouge was flooded. Like when I moved there in 2016, we went down and gutted some houses and stuff like that. So that was interesting work.
That's great. Yeah.
Definitely good folks.
Yeah.
So I noticed that your work is really in the healing profession and professions, and I like the idea. It seems like you're thinking of the trails as a healing
Yeah.
thing for people as well, and
Yeah.
that your emphasis on making sure with affordable housing there are always paths to get to the trails easily.
Yeah, I know that's always something I've been interested in. For Hinesburg, it's a little different. There's not like a tangible homeless population really, but definitely like marginal housing and stuff like that. And I've always been a hiker, so that's it's been a great interest of mine. So yeah.
Good.
Cool.
So, I mean, I'm okay with approving Colin.
Nice.
So we would need a motion to approve him to the Trails Committee and until a term January 1st, 2023. So I'd make that motion.
I'll second it.
Yeah.
Seconded by Mary Lee. Anything else? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
All right.
So thanks, Colin.
Thanks.
Really
Yeah.
appreciate it. Enjoy the time with the committee, and
Yeah, absolutely.
we're always here if you've got other suggestions or things we could be doing.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll let you know how I can help if there's.
Welcome to
something else, so-
All right, thank you
Yeah.
very
Appreciate
much.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for reaching out.
Thanks, guys. Yeah.
Next item on the agenda is we're looking at replacing the 2000 case tractor. Come on up, Mike.
Get the guest of honor seat.
All right,
Or
and Dominic,
you'd
if
like
you
to
want to
hold
come
the chair
up,
as
you
well, you're
can.
welcome to. Good start.
So we have in our packet a sheet showing the potential cost of one from Pete's, Massey Ferguson. And maybe just tell us, we've had the case tractor, I guess, from 2000, and last year we began to save capital, I think 20,000, is that right? And we're planning to again save it again this year toward a new purchase, so expecting a purchase. And I don't know, is it coming up about when you thought, or did you stretch it out
and
longer?
we've stretched it. This has gone a long time. We put $4,000 in that tractor this year. We still got, spring to go. We're dumping a lot of money into it. And actually, I think I told Renee today, I mean, from when we purchased that back in 2000, and with the amount of mowers we put on it, the money, we're into it for over $100,000 now. And we want to keep dumping money into it, but it's time. It's seen its life for us.
How much did that one cost? Do you
We
remember?
paid $52,000 for that one, and I think we got $3,000 or $4,000 for the trade then, on the one we traded in. And then we kept an old mower that we were using, used that one for a few years. Then we purchased another mower for $14,000, wore that one out, and then put this last one on for another $35,000. So we're up $100,000 on this tractor. Like I
So-
said, now we put $4,000 into it this year. I mean, it needs more work. I mean, the tractor needs to get split because it needs brake work.
What else is it used for besides doing the mowing along
The
the sides?
mowing, it's, and I've got in this to purchase a New York rake for in the spring to dry the roads out. We rake the roads. The current rake we have now is a landscape rake that I didn't know was a landscape rake. I thought it was a York rake, but it's considered a landscape rake. We bought in 1985. So we're kind of sick of working on that. And then with the new blower, the blower goes on this for the leaf blower.
And that you just do the gutters and things with that?
The road, yeah, all the
Yeah.
ditches and everything, yeah.
Yep.
So Mike, on this letter from Jason, he lists $116,000, and then are these other costs for the diamond rotary
Yeah,
head?
because
Is that
we-
in addition?
The diamond, the 60-inch, because it'll come with a 50-inch rotary head, what we currently have now. But we thought if we had the 60-inch, especially on the paved roads, we can not only do them a little faster, but get them a little bit wider especially with the parsnip, especially down here in the fields and stuff. Instead of having to make 3 and 4 passes, we could get away with 2 passes and be done a little quicker.
So the total cost would be about 130,000?
And then less the 18, so we're down to 114,000
Okay,
total with the extra
18
deck
is
and the
the
York
trade-in,
rate.
right?
yep.
Yeah, and then with the trade, 18,000 per trade.
Yep.
You know, the current tractor, I think it's probably 5 years ago. The motor was rebuilt in it once. So, and the hydraulics have been, we're always working on the hydraulics on it. So, you know, and that's, you know, a tractor for what we're using it, we're driving that thing around at 3 or 4 miles an hour, wide open.
Right,
All day
right.
long.
Yeah.
I think we have roughly 5,000 hours on it.
And the reason you're looking at the Massey Ferguson, is there,
I looked at it, and actually we rented one from the same Pete's Equipment this summer, just trying to get caught up because we were so far behind. And we really liked it. It was lower to the ground. It was a lot more stable. You know, our case tractor is a tall tractor, and I've looked at the John Deere. It was the same thing. They're tall tractors, have a lot of ground clearance that we don't need.
right?
And they're, yeah, pretty tippy, but this thing has a 23-foot reach on it. You stick that out there, maybe close to the ground.
Thoughts? So, we put 20 last year, in the budget this year, we had 20. So that means, at least for the next 4 years, you know, it'd be sort of the same thing.
So depending on what type of financing model we pursue, so if it's a traditional loan where we start paying immediately, or if it's the lease type of model, which even the commercial banks are doing now with, that's what we used with our last purchase of vehicles. So then we would start, we would get it now, or, you know, order it now, and then start paying in the following fiscal year. So at that point, we would have the 40,000.
And we expect the budget would continue at about 20 a year to pay it off.
Right, so, you know, once we find out exactly what the loan payment would be, then we'll know where we're at, but I think I'm comfortable that we'll be within the range.
So is the main use for this the roadside cutting,
Yep.
mowing, whatever you call it? So you probably wouldn't be using it before next July or August?
Right, actually, this wouldn't be available, they wouldn't build it till May, the end of May. We wouldn't get it till the 1st of June,
Okay.
about when we usually start mowing. The only thing we won't have it for is for the York rake in the spring.
So we'll take ownership of it then in this current fiscal year, but depending on the financing, we could either start paying on it immediately or delay the payment for a year.
Yeah, good.
But we'd keep the 20 in there as a capital transfer.
Yeah.
And the life of it would be,
I'm hoping not 20 years again.
right,
I'm hoping I
15?
won't have to worry about it.
Yep.
So what's so special about this tractor that has to be ordered now and they don't start building it until May?
It won't be ready till May, because they put this new transmission in it, because they went away with the hydrostatic transmissions everybody did, and now they've come back with it. This Ford, oh, I guess it doesn't have it in there. Does it? No. It's a new Dyna-4 transmission with the 16 speed, it says it there, yeah, the Dyna-4. Yeah. It's supposed to be a better transmission, which it gives us the ability not just to put it in like second, because of the ranges, but we can split shift it to go slower or faster.
and they've looked at our other one already for a trade-in?
Yep.
That sounds like a necessary expense to me. Are we ready for a motion?
I think so. Jeff, you all?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't know enough about is it high, is it low, is it, it seems, reasonable, and they got 0% for 84 months. But that would have to obviously go through there, but, yeah. I agree, it seems a reasonable, request for what it's used for.
I think we've been planning. We expected it would come up at some point, so.
Yeah.
It's either that or we stop mowing. I mean, there's another option. Not that that's necessarily
your
what
phone
I'm
number
saying.
is?
Yes,
Not that that's what I'm saying,
correct all
but,
complaints too.
but that's what we're talking about here is as a decision
Right,
point. Is,
absolutely.
Or you keep the old one.
But that's
We keep
true.
working on it. That's
Yeah, right.
At the cost of what you're saying of just continually dumping money and use that 100,000 or something over the course of however many years.
18 years.
Yeah, and what was the total here?
114.
114. Yeah. So
That's with the trade-in.
yeah.
All right, can I make a motion that we buy the Massey Ferguson tractor from Pete's Equipment Sales and Rentals that Mike is recommending?
I think in the motion, we approve Renee to pursue the appropriate financing,
Yes,
and
yeah.
which will keep our budget, at the 20,000 or less going forward until it's paid for. Does that sound right?
Yep.
I'll second.
More discussion?
Yeah, Mike, do you have a place to store this?
We're gonna leave a truck outside.
Okay, there we go. But how nice this is, right? So finally you're getting a piece of equipment and you actually have a place to put things.
Yeah. Yep.
And to protect our investments basically,
Yeah.
and work on them.
And work on
And
it.
work on them.
Or maintain them, yeah.
No,
That's been a
maintain
great thing. We look forward to stuff breaking down now.
It's an inside day.
All right, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that motion passed. And we'll move on. Next item
So the next
is,
customer is?
so we're looking at the budget, the last budget items, but these are some big ones. The last couple of meetings anyways, we had the easy ones, cream puffs of the budget. Now we're getting into the big ones, the highway. We'll talk about police and fire and EMS. And this will be the last day where we're just sort of reviewing the proposed budgets. I think that, what the department sort of came up with. But, now we'll start to put everything together. And I know Renee's looking at the revenue side, what do we expect for revenue? And so we'll go ahead and we'll review everything that's being proposed, ask questions like we have been. But it's time for us to start thinking about the big picture. And our next couple of meetings, we'll be going back over the budgets. And we'll want to know, hey, I have some concerns about this line item. I don't know, we can't afford it. Or maybe we should spend more or whatever. So we'll want to get into the individual issues, not each and every one, but where it'd be good to know where select board members want to bring up specific items.
We got to make decisions.
We got to make some
Yeah.
decisions,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I guess one decision could be, hey, we're going to approve the budget as presented, but we're up around 8%. So I'm kind of doubting that we'll be able to do that with, without at least a lot of discussion. So be prepared after tonight to say, here are the 3, 4, 5 particular items you either want to discuss, and we will discuss and go through them and say, all right, everybody's good with it, or we'll make motions and say, I think we need to cut or we need to add this, so we can get through the items in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
So in your packets right now is the budget as a whole, in addition to the individual department budgets that we're going to be discussing this evening. I did add revenues on there, so if you look at the tabs of the budget as a whole, I went through line by line, looking back the last 4 or 5 years and put revenue projections. I have had, I'm am asking, like Missy, there's a couple of items I wanted her to look into, and so made some changes. I think I put the most recent one, I think I switched it out this afternoon, so you have an updated one in there. So there's that information. There's the capital budget and the capital improvement plan. So which is the plan. We have the year that we're planning for FY21, but then it's a plan for the next 4 years out after that. So all of that information is in your packet.
And I think there's a couple of other items sort of sitting out there. Sorry, we're just going over the big picture.
I got all night.
One is, what percentage of the overall salary changes? Last year was the 3%. I think the previous year was 3%. And exactly how that gets done, let's say it's 3%. Whatever we do, I'm going to suggest we give Renee the ability to, let's say it's 3%, here's what it equals, $20,000, let's say. We'll go ahead and apply that to the employees, but they don't all necessarily all get the same, because some may, be a little under what would be appropriate, some may not. So we might want to give, that expectation that's able to do that. But we'll need to determine what's that percentage. For the budget review, we've put in the 3%. And then, we'll also start talking about, probably at our next meeting, any other warrant items that we'll be bringing besides the usual.
Yeah.
All right, so with that, we go right to the highway department budget, and that's, I'm looking at the big picture, line 175. I don't know if everybody's got that. And maybe we'll go down, and this was, Marilee, that you were the budget buddy for this?
Yeah.
So,
So you're gonna work from the bit.
yeah, that's what I have, but
Okay.
it should be the same,
Okay.
right?
It should be the same. Yeah. I'll just keep this one open then.
So salaries,
Because it's 5A, right? In our packet.
It's 5A, yes. So salary line, if you're looking at the one that I have on the screen right now, is just the department budget. I did add, that's factored in with the 3%, and then I added an additional fifth employee, which is what we're proposing in this budget, for approximately $50,000. Again, 20 years ago, there were 5 employees in the highway department. Once Mike moved up to highway foreman, they didn't fill his position, so we've been operating with 4 positions since that point. Again, we know that it's hard to fill those positions, but, ultimately, we really need to get to a place where they can, during the winter months, they can create a schedule so that someone has a weekend off and they can sort of adjust those schedules. And we also have some people who think that they have retirement somewhere in their future, and so there needs to be a little bit of succession planning in there and that type of training. So anyway, that line is reflecting that 50,000 additional.
and I suppose, having an additional, I haven't made my mind up at all on this, but having an additional person may make it easier to fill in the additional position that's now open, because, hey, you're not tied to the truck for 6 months out of the year. There'll be a schedule, and,
Yeah, and it's not just in the winter that we're looking, it's, in the summer. Currently, there's only 3 of us, and there's been a number of years there's only been 3 of us. Somebody's off every week on vacation, because we don't take any time in the winter.
Yeah.
Which leaves two of us to maintain all these roads and to get all the work done.
But I mean, there should be 4, so,
Right.
what we're talking about is 5. So if we were at 4, you'd be able to do most of that.
Right, but even then, when we're at 4, there's still one person off
Yeah,
a week throughout the summer.
yeah.
So we're still down to 3 people. And we're stretching it. On the back roads, we get away with it. On the main roads, where need to do the work. We're setting our traffic lights up because of the traffic control we need. On the back roads where, traffic is slower, we're still supposed to have 2 flaggers. We'll do it with 1 or set the traffic lights work great. But up on a back road, we have, a car every 10 minutes instead of 10 cars every minute. People get pretty frustrated when we set those up and they got to sit there and wait for 1 car and there's nobody there, So we put 1 guy out there to flag, and it's kind of not safe for us, but we do it where we can get away with it or whatever, clear zones. But there's just a lot of other things saying, how many times the grader goes out? We should have a truck out there hauling some gravel to them, and we don't do it. It makes it a big process that we got to stop everything else that we're doing, go haul gravel for him for the next week or 2. It limits us. It breaks down the whole operation.
So there are 3 full-time people now, and is the 4th person already in the budget and just not
Yeah.
hired?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now,
So it is a 4-person budget now.
Right.
okay, so we're looking for 2 additional people
We
to
would be
hire.
we're currently looking for 1.
Right,
But
okay,
only
Come
one
July, we would
additional in the
add, we'd be
budget.
looking for 1 more.
yeah, good, okay.
What about if we went with the 5th person and you took on the sidewalks? Because the sidewalks is about a half a person.
Well, it's seasonal,
Right.
so it's, depends on what their hours are. I don't know that it's even fully a half. It wouldn't be a half, no.
Probably like a 20th.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's less than a half a person.
right, yeah,
Obviously, it's when it's snowing or after a snowstorm.
right.
What do you consider taking on the sidewalks?
What? Plowing them.
Just plowing?
Yeah, that's mostly. I'm not sure what other maintenance is. Occasionally they get swept, right?
Yeah.
And we've done that most of the
Yeah,
time.
yeah. So I'm not sure what other maintenance is, regular maintenance. There's repairs, but that, be concrete work or something, I would expect.
I think they're in good hands right now.
What's that?
Yeah, sure they are. Okay.
my
He
son
looks,
starts-
he looked scared to death the other day running around in that thing.
I saw this morning.
I saw all the marks on Mechanicsville too.
It's okay.
So, now it's sort of stuck in buildings and facilities and is really being done by.
Not where it's stuck, that's where it's always been.
Okay,
So-
yeah, all right, fair enough. Obviously, when it's snowing, that's when you got the biggest demand. But if we were up to 5 people and this is a, 4-hour or 6-hour, I don't know how long it takes to do it.
4
Depends on-
hours to go through the whole thing,
Yeah.
isn't it?
It depends.
It depends on,
Yeah,
it depends on
yeah,
what the
so-
snow is, if it's heavy or.
Could be
Up to 12
could be a
hours,
3-hour to 8-hour thing.
Well, and I haven't read the new policy because I haven't really cared. But when does it need to be done? Do they need to be done by daylight? Do they, before school?
No, the
I mean,
policy says we try to do it in 24 hours after a storm.
After a storm event,
Yeah.
and the roads are priority, so, and that was included in there just because of the conflict of, when you guys are passing through, you're blowing snow onto
Right.
it, so
There
waiting
is some
until that part's
synergy there
done.
too, a little bit,
I'm way bigger.
I know. So
So,
I would, you don't have to, consider it and let us know. Get back to us. I think that, adding another person and well, we're trying to fill that spot. So
we actually did fill
Okay,
it.
all
We've
right.
gotten this new employee. that-
But, there's another position though. That's a position too that for years been a tough time filling.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Everybody thought they would do it, a couple of people, and then when they actually did it, they were like, yeah, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you guys have the wherewithal to keep the piece of equipment running and all that too. So it makes sense to me. I mean, it doesn't make sense to add that to your existing right now where you are, but anyways, I think that's some consideration. Any more discussion? Anybody else have discussions on the salary? And
Just a quick question, is the 3% raise built into this?
Yes.
Okay.
it's in there, yeah.
The two I had with, I mean, speaking of if we do get the fifth, which is, you know, that's
More
debatable
discussion.
whether you're even gonna be able to hire somebody. But let's just say we did, but we still have the striping, hiring that out, as well as brush cutting. It was, kinda seems like with the fifth, you might be able to address those things easier.
The brush cutting, the thing with the brush cutting is we have some pretty big trees that need to get cut. And I don't want to tackle them.
Right. Now, I'll ask the same question I asked somebody last week. Are they near the power lines?
No.
Oh, damn.
Trust me, I've already been there. I can't get them to cut the one on Silver Street that's hanging on their wire now for over a month.
Really?
Yeah. And I keep getting the phone call about it.
Is there, obviously getting all the work done and being more efficient, are there things that you're not doing now that, it's obvious that, hey, I think we'd be able to get to that?
Some of it is brush cutting, but it's more on the back roads, just regular brush cutting. Cleaning out some of these culverts and stuff before the storms instead of us doing it during the storm. Yeah, there's a lot that fifth person can do. And hopefully, it'd be more of a person that has some mechanical skills. Mm-hmm. It would take a load off me.
Yeah, you've been talking about that since the garage was proposed. That would be great.
Yep.
Have you thought about looking strictly for a mechanic?
Yeah.
A mechanic that wants to get in a truck too, that's tough. Because we need the fifth person on the road too.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for a person that's willing to do both.
Right. But in terms of advertising,
Yeah.
I mean, I know they're hard to come by too. But
Yeah. Our mechanic stuff we don't have that much. We try to stay good on the trucks and be aware of them and all the equipment. But when something does break, it's time consuming. They're not easy fixes. And it takes, one guy, two guys a way to do it, or, somebody's in there at night or on a weekend or early in the morning trying to get it going again, just to get it going.
All right, should we keep going down? I don't know if there's anything in particular. Line items?
What does it mean with Missy's labels are different than town report?
So that was related to, let me get that one, on the vehicle supplies and
Repair and maintenance.
repair and maintenance.
Missy's report breaks it all down because each truck is listed,
Oh, okay.
and here she just shows it as one line.
I mean, in NIMRIC, which is the system they use, so that way we know how much, when we're getting to we're spending a lot of money on each vehicle, so we have an idea of what we're spending for, so that's
What you're
broken
spending
down
on.
that way.
Okay.
In the town report, we don't have that many lines available for us, so we just.
The increase for, I think, Tom, you just mentioned the line striping.
Oh, yeah.
It's just gotten to be, all through the town here, the crosswalks and the turn lanes and everything, and just the amount of traffic. And, paint doesn't dry instantly. And you spend more time standing around watching paint dry than anything else. And actually, the guy I've talked to about this, they gave me a budget number. He's going to come in here at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and do it. And, throughout in the summer when it's, and by the time daylight comes, it'll be dry and he's done and gone. We're doing one intersection a day.
And he would be doing the fog lines too, is what
No,
you said?
just
No,
the
that's not.
crosswalks
Okay,
and-
that-
Yeah.
And those are once a year.
Yeah, right. We still have the walk behind that we use, that we've been doing it with, that we had split with Moncton. Moncton wants out of it. They're getting totally away from it. But we could still, I mean, keep it and go around and have to touch up some crosswalks or whatever throughout the summer, or we still want to do the stop bars around the other roads, the other paved roads, put stop bars in at the stop signs where we still have that to do it. That's no time at all to do those.
And the building utilities, so is that primarily just heat?
Heat and electric.
Yeah, and electric. I mean, there isn't anything in there that's taking up huge electric, right? So it's mostly just
I
heat.
know, the lights and heat pumps and
Yeah.
stuff. Not the lights, but it's more the heat pumps. You know, drives me nuts when I see those $600 electric bills. I want to go back
Yeah.
to the old building when I had 400.
When the Energy Committee comes, they're also going to be talking about, the different town buildings of ways of,
Opportunity
just
for
cost
solar on
savings.
the roof
And so
there.
solar on the
And
roof
if,
of the highway
so you have
garage.
about a $400 bill, electric?
$600-700.
Oh, 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that would be, yeah, that would
Be
consume a
considered.
lot, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
big
those
enough
lights don't
load.
consume a lot, and they're
No.
all, right, they go off. I mean, that's why I tell if the guys are sleeping or not, because they shut off after
Yeah.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
They're not moving.
Yeah. But that's, that's a pretty good load, so we wouldn't have to find off-takers if we, put a bunch on the roof there. You could consume it all from Vermont Electric Co-op, because it's the only building, I think, on Vermont
Yes.
Electric Co-op for the
Yeah.
town.
No, the water pump,
The water tower.
water,
Oh, off
The
of
water-
P-
Yeah,
Oh, that's,
Yeah.
that's
Vermont
Vermont,
Co-op.
oh,
Yes,
okay.
yes,
Oh,
that's
that's
right.
good to know,
It
Pretty sure
yeah.
should be.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably a
Because
pretty good
it's
one,
right
too.
in line with,
I know Green Mountain Power comes up the Iroquois. I don't know if they,
Yeah.
I know they
Okay.
combine lines there someplace.
Yeah, okay.
yeah, that one could be.
All right.
Is there any other places, thinking about that fifth employee, that you can sub some of these things out besides the brush cutting and tree cutting?
No, it's all regular routine maintenance that we're trying to get done. And it's, the big push for me is all this, the general roads permit stuff with all these grants that we have available, that I still got a grant from last year we never got to this year for Hayden Hill, just because we didn't have the manpower to go do it.
So, I mean, if we look at the difference between last year and this year, it's primarily the new employee. I mean, the rest of it, there's a little bit here or there. Dust control a little bit more, you're thinking. But it's all weather dependent. And I appreciate the fact that it appears from my vantage point anyways, if you don't need to use the material, you hold off on it.
Right, we
Yeah.
don't use it.
Yeah.
But
So the building phone is one that stuck out to me across the town when I signed the warrants last week. That seems like a lot of money for a phone line. And there's probably how many in the building?
one,
One phone line.
Does that include the pagers stuff?
yeah, we haven't done pagers.
But
My
doesn't it-
internet comes out of that too.
Your internet, yeah, it has some.
Yeah.
But still,
Actually, no, there
So
is
you have
two
two
lines.
lines, you
We
have
got
two
two lines.
lines,
Two
yeah.
the fire alarm.
The fire alarms.
Yeah.
go to
But the
that.
other thing is because all the new people in town that come into town have a cell phone, they came from Colorado or something, when I have to call them back, it's a long distance call.
Really?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Then,
So that.
It
that
does
also
seem like a
adds
lot.
up a lot.
I mean, you're looking at, 250, 300
Look at the
bucks a
phone
month.
bills, yeah.
oh, I
There
did
might
look
be
at the
an-
phone bills. It was more like 500.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe my eyes when I was looking at
Yeah,
it.
those long distance calls add up quickly.
yeah.
So is there another way we can?
if you had a cell phone.
Yeah, usually I
Yes.
wait till people call me back. I
Right.
try not to call them, to return calls.
I mean, that just seems outrageous on one building, two lines to spend that amount of money.
Yeah.
And internet.
Do we know what the
And the
internet
internet.
is out there?
Is what?
Do you know what the internet bandwidth is?
It's Green Mountain Access.
It's probably just DSL.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
DSL.
a DSL,
Just thinking
10
you do
meg,
voice
10
over IP, and
10
there is
meg
no
line.
long distance. Just an idea.
I mean, it's probably across the board for the town. It's probably an opportunity there.
To at
To
least
see,
look at
yeah.
it. Because it
There's
does,
a couple of things like that.
I was surprised
Yeah.
how much.
No,
I
my
agree,
phone
it
bill could
seems-
have been $500.
There was one of them that was.
Yeah.
It was a highway. was $500.
Maybe not.
Yeah,
Regardless, I looked at the phone bills
Yeah.
across town and I
It
was
says-
shocked at how much they were.
yeah.
So the actual this year, right, is 3,300 in 19, so,
And then my cell phone comes out of that.
okay. So it's just
Yeah,
one
with
cell
eight,
phone? Yeah,
One cell phone, yeah.
yeah.
Doesn't your cell phone have a plan with unlimited calling, so you could make long-distance calls for free? I can on
My problem
mine.
is then they
And
have
then
my cell
everybody
phone
calls
number
the
and
cell
they call
phone.
me at 9 o'clock, 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Maybe.
All right, any other comments? Do you have anything, Renee? Renee.
Oh,
Marilee?
that's quite a compliment.
If you look at the additional tabs on the highway budget, department budget, I have the capital reserve projections, so what the balances are projected to be at the end of this, for June 30th, 2020, at the end of this fiscal year. There are a couple areas that are combined, so there were a couple changes on the pavement ones. She didn't have reflected what we paid the paving contractor, so that's the unallocated fund balance under highway, road, and bridge. That's actually just over like 53,000 was what the actual balance of reserves is. So what I did is I took 50,000 and applied it towards the paving reserves. So it'll be, right now in the capital budget is 200,000. For that is a capital transfer for paving, and then a 50,000 is coming from reserves, which is the same as I did in this current fiscal year to offset that cost and utilize the paving reserves. Capital narrative, so I
Yeah,
just
that's-
copy pasted the capital narrative that's associated with the highway budget, and I highlight in yellow what's an FY '21 capital transfer payment. When you look at the capital improvement plan, doc that's in there as well on number 5, you'll see what the slated entire capital transfers are for FY '21, the lists out by department. And then on the bottom left of that screen, you'll also see what the totals are for each department. But what we're looking at right now is just highway specific. So the majority of these are payments, but we have our typical that we do 15,000 for culverts, 30,000 a year for gravel. And then
Then we have that screen plan, which is,
last year,
yeah.
we put the screen plan in, and that was one of the things you guys decided to take back out. Mike wanted it as a discussion item again this year, and I think he has some, more information to refresh your memory of why he's suggesting that.
Yeah, that's a 2-year.
2 or 3 years, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it
Depending on what we can find, we
Yes.
own, my thing is that we've owned a gravel pit and we can't process our own material. And like now, with all the flooding we've had for the past year and a half, and even the Halloween storm hasn't been declared a disaster yet. That's still sitting on the governor's desk. We use a lot of material that we didn't anticipate using, and I don't think we have enough gravel to get us through spring.
So
Mud
you'll have to
seasons.
bring somebody in.
We're gonna have, nobody's gonna come in here now, so we're
Fine.
gonna have to go buy some to get us through.
at a much higher price than.
And I'm not saying, that gravel pit's not gonna last forever.
Right.
But, I don't know, it's why we had our own plant, at least we could start that thing up and screen some gravel out to get us through. Nothing worse than owning something and can't use it.
And you can take the riprap from the ditches you talked
Right,
about.
be able to
and
clean out that
clean
riprap,
out.
because that'll eliminate, another purchase when we do clean these ditches out, because we gotta do more and more of it, and I'm seeing 3 and 4 years, it's filled back in on these gravel roads. Currently, we dig it out, put it in the pit, and then they crush it, it's gone, but we have to go buy all new.
2010 dump truck, the 2009 or 10, that is just 35,000 to start, when he replaces it, that's 35,000. Again, we put it in the current year and then projecting so that we're starting to get ahead rather than saving in advance of replacing vehicles. So that was a,
So I can't come back next week with the purchase of that one?
2014 Mac is just a payment. I mean, that is what the actual payment is, so there's no flexibility on adjusting that, as well as the 2018 Freightliner is a payment. 2016 Freightliner is a payment. So this
And
is just a
those-
narrative, but you
and-
can go on to the capital improvement plan and see when they're paid
Right,
off.
we can see when they're
Yeah,
paid off.
so the final payments for each of those are listed here, so this is gonna be the final payment for the 2014. And it'll also be the final payment for the 2016.
Yeah,
The 2018's final payment is in FY '23. And then the 1-ton with the plow and the crane, that's the payment for that. FY '23 is the final payment for that one as well. The loader, final payment FY '23, that's one of those, we bundled quite a few vehicles that we needed to replace into one. And that's where we got a commercial lender to do that lease model, where we were able to make the purchase and then start paying on it in the final payment, in the next year, which allows us to continue saving.
so the 2014, we're paying this year.
The 2014 is being paid off in this year that we're
This year.
planning for.
So next year it drops
Yeah.
off. But we're adding one as far as vehicles would be the,
The 2010, you're saying?
yes.
So, yeah, that's the one we've been saving for, so we put 35,000 in the current year, we're projecting to put 35,000 in next year, the FY '21, as well as if you look at the capital improvement plan, that is the plan, so FY '21 is a planned replacement of that truck, if we do that
It's
same model.
2020 next year.
Yeah, so next year, FY '21, the one we're planning for. And then if we do that lease financing model, it'd be FY '22 would be our first payment. So. We'd have 105,000 saved by that point.
Paving costs staying pretty steady.
Yep.
Question for you. We have Pond Brook Road on here is 0.3 miles. How long is it from top to bottom?
1.1.
1.1?
Another 0.8 of a mile. Pave it. Quiet, Val.
While his dad is coming at you, huh?
So it's the capital piece is a little complicated to get our hands around. I think you gotta look at when things start to drop off and when
Yeah.
we might be adding.
It's easier to look at this, what I have on the screen. So this shows, let me just get into a different format here. Dropbox changes it a little bit. So this is the capital transfer expenditure summary for FY '21. So this blue column shows all of the capital transfers that are proposed currently and breaks them up by department, explains if it's saving towards replacement or if it's a payment for an existing payment. And then it goes at the bottom, it identifies by department, so highway, the proposed transfer is $447,168.35, and that reflects the $50,000 that I applied in capital reserves here. And that you can go by department, so each of those lines should correspond with the capital transfer figure that's at the bottom of each budget. And these pages are all coordinated with each other, so these are what the total, so the total capital transfer is 600, across all departments, $648,469.70. And the actual capital transfer is the $698,469.70. So you'll see that for the FY '22, what's proposed, '23, '24. You see those numbers are going down a little bit. That's only because we haven't
Purchase the vehicles, probably.
are planned out. This tab is the actual capital improvement plan, so I go through the departments. Here's highway, the culverts, we've been doing 15,000 each year, so you get into the far right column. And I just added the FY '21 through '25 because that's what our capital improvement plan is reflective of. So this is the total you'd have at the end of FY '25. On the far left-hand column is the balance of the capital reserves. So there's a little bit of change in the tanker. There's still $587.77 that could be applied elsewhere. $870.52 unallocated fund balance. Paving showed $60,238.96, but that's when I went back and checked on some of that, so I think it's a little less than that, but we definitely have the 50,000 to apply. Gravel roads, this is the balance it showed. I think we need to clarify with Missy and Joan exactly.
What's
'cause
there?
they've combined it a little bit, so to get a clearer sense. But that is, so you'll see for the equipment, again, I have in red indicates it's savings toward, in blue italics is, actual numbers, so. This is the FY '21 column, so these are the payments that we're looking at. This actually is the garage payment for the bond bank. It's not reflected in the highway budget, it's reflected in debt service. But I just included it in here because it's related to highway. Again, this is the savings toward for the dump truck, the 2009 or 10 we've talked about. These are payments. This is savings towards with the tractor.
So we got a full year of payments this year. Next year, you can see a couple drop off.
Yep. Yeah, so then you can see what happens here. This drops off in FY '22. We've now paid off that dump truck. The 2016 is also paid off here. Screen plant, we have it in here right now.
Right.
This-
And,
this
I know we want that screen plant, but for example, if you moved it over one more year, you'd stick it in a year where you've dropped off another payment. Considering what this year is.
Paving that's planned for next year is, or FY '21 is the Pond Road, but again, Mike has to always look at that. I think he said Pond Road and Richmond Road are kind of right. It's like a toss-up, so he'll be looking at that next year when it's time for paving. So,
And that is a big number, 250. I mean, but our goal was originally, we were gonna do 2.3 miles a year on a 10-year cycle. The only thing that hasn't been done is we haven't added in Creekside, Thistle Hill
Right.
into that paving. And, Creekside's looking to be paved here in the next year or two, which is gonna be a big paving number. It's gonna be more expensive to do just that little bit of road in there than it is to do the rest
Because
of our
of the
roads.
curbing and all
The
that
curbing, the
stuff, yeah.
manholes, the sewer system, that road's gonna get ground out and then repaved. So it's gonna be more expensive to do those types of roads than it is our regular roads. What's helped us here the past 3 years, 4 years is because of the paving grants. And the board has allowed us to keep the money, which they were always supposed to do.
We weren't supposed to, the money wasn't supposed to fall off on the taxpayer side. It was in addition, where I think the first 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when we got the grant, we did Hinesburg Hollow. We ended up doing almost 4 miles of road,
Yeah.
which got us caught up.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, we started catching up. And now this year with this grant, we were able to do all this other paving. Got us
Yeah,
caught up to do
right.
these smaller roads, you know, Commerce Street, Palmbrook Road. They weren't part of the regular 250,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And on the other end of it, you know, we saved because labor, and especially in the winter and in the spring of the year, coal patching. There's nothing worse than have to be out there coal patching, you know, just before a storm. And last year we did a lot of it. I mean, it's not a big expense material wise, but it's time,
Yeah.
labor.
Only a stopgap.
I mean, the road,
Stopgap, you know.
the roads that got done this year seemed like they really needed it, you know.
And I'm not, trust me, I'm not paving roads just to pave them.
No.
Just we're trying to stay on top of them, so they're not coming apart like they had in years past. Where I remember 30 years ago, there was nothing for us to go out and shovel 10 tons of coal patch in a day, filling holes.
And that was Commerce Street alone.
All right, I'm just looking at the time. Is there any other items?
The only thing that I can see that could be reduced is that phone bill. Thanks for pointing that out, Tom. So I wonder if Phil and Jeff, if maybe you two seem to have ideas. It seems like there are lots of options today to not pay anything for long distance. So to have the highway garage having to pay so much for long distance, I think that's an easy solution.
So we had worked a while back, I mean, this was what, a year or so ago, we worked with Green Mountain Access to try to look at some other alternatives. We didn't end up getting a quote from them. So we can circle back with them and some other places as well.
Even a second cell phone that's dedicated just to calling people, and
Right.
you don't have to pay attention when they call back if you don't want to. But
I mean, I
That
think that's
would
a good
be-
idea. It's peanuts. I mean,
Yeah, I know
to
it's
this budget.
peanuts, but it's something.
And I would think we want to look at the whole town.
Yeah, that
If we're
would be
gonna-
good, too.
They're all
That'd be
Green
great.
Mountain Access, I'm sure. So it'd be time to sit down with them and say, here's all the lines we have. You tell us how we can do better, or we'll be looking elsewhere.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
So on this budget, I mean, I think we've got some big decisions. We've got the extra person. That's a significant amount. We've got that, some of the capital, which, this year is like a bulge of capital. And so we have to decide what we want to do. And if there's anything else, these are the things I'm looking at.
I like your idea of putting the screener forward to a year when we don't have such other costs. Waiting a year before we get that.
Knowing we've already delayed, we pushed it out already 1 year, but
Yeah.
we filled it in with the disc carol, I think, and
Yeah,
a couple things.
but I think the fifth person is necessary.
All right?
I'm just wondering, so I'm hearing about the plant, the screener, and it makes sense when you look at it, but when you look at the totals and, it shifts 35 out from 730 to, 680, and then it makes next year 680 instead of 653. I'm just thinking, what kind of savings could we get if we have that versus just putting it off another year? You might offset more by investing now, and then the savings you'll get from doing it yourself than, getting an outside person to come in. You might end up actually saving more by purchasing now.
Yeah.
So you got to take that into account, if that makes sense what I'm saying. Do we have an idea what we would, how much is it to farm that out? That the screener would save us?
We usually do 10,000 yards of gravel when we crush, and that's every other year. And they're charging us $450 a yard. And we're still there because we have to stockpile it. So we're doing $60,000, $70,000 every 2 years.
Just for Ricky.
This is the sand that we're showing in this budget.
Well, and actually, right, there's a sand too that we're paying another $3 a yard to do that.
Okay.
So possible $80,000 savings by doing it ourselves. Is that what I'm hearing? Like, we would-
80,000?
Well,
No.
I'm not saying, you're not gonna
No,
save the
but-
total of it, you're gonna save
Something.
2/3 of it.
Savings.
Right.
All right, is there anything else? You got anything else for us, Mike? Or?
I don't think so. Oh, yeah, I do. How do you want to proceed with the rest of the work from the Halloween storm? We're looking at roughly $20,000 on Tyler Bridge Road Bridge and another $22,000 on Hinesburg Hollow.
So the FEMA, they haven't formally declared, and so we don't know. You know, that's sort of in limbo. Hadn't had any communication, just got a recent email the last couple days saying that it's still now the governor may put a request out there, but it hasn't gone there yet.
All right, so this is the first I'm hearing about it. So there's $40,000 worth of repair work that needs to get done. How would that get done if somebody handed a check today?
They would call the contractors. I got 2 different contractors willing to do the work,
Okay.
so.
And so we'll find out whether we qualify or whether the governor asks for it? Is that?
I think the way it's said, that it's sitting on his desk, he's just waiting for more information before he sends it to Washington.
Yeah, so
Then the amount of damage qualifies, I think it had to be $1 million.
I
Yeah,
think they're
so-
still digging.
I think so. I think it's looking like there may be some help for municipalities with roads. It doesn't look like there will be for private landowners unless it's damage that happened inside their house, like with flooding or, so.
Is this work that can be done in the winter, or does it have to wait till the snow's gone?
No, all it could be done now. Has to be done now. We can't keep leaving it.
Is the bridges wash under, or?
They went around the bridge. In Hinesburg Hollow, the whole side of the road fell in. 100 feet of shoulder. And the thing with the FEMA thing is that the state, the requirement for the state, I'm pretty sure it was $3 million statewide. Chittenden County's $1 million. Just Chittenden County alone has to meet it. So, sometimes that's tough.
But
And
we
only
did.
2
I think
towns.
we
It's $1 million, yeah, it has to be.
Yeah,
It's
Just
$1
Chittenden
million.
County.
I think they said Chittenden County alone.
Was over $1 million.
Was over.
So, I mean, obviously, it'd be good to do it sooner than later. I mean, this is the first I'm hearing about it, so I'm just like, so what's our timing and what,
As
do
soon as
we
I get
wait
the
a
okay
little
from you,
bit?
I'm gonna call them and say, go do it.
And then hope we get,
And hope we get
And
paid.
actually
I
get
mean,
reimbursed, but
but if today they said, no, we're not paying for it, we'd have to do it
we'll
anyways?
have to do it anyways.
And we have no insurance or anything
No.
that would,
so they did a lot of work with the initial reports where it was all the work that they did on the hill roads. This you found later on.
Right, this came out a week later.
Yeah, that,
Yeah. Once the water all drained out, and the waters went down everywhere.
and you've got contractors sort of lined up now and the pricing seems correct.
For what they have to do, yeah.
And if we didn't get paid for it,
then we'll, have to use fund balance too.
Right.
The highway funds are always protected, so anything that's left over in those each year should be going back towards highway as well, anyway. But, I mean, this is a responsibility of the town to
Yep.
maintain the roads, so.
and a
Yeah.
safe road.
Safe road.
Well, I would propose, probably not gonna do it over Christmas anyways. So maybe in first week in January, we'll get an update on where we are.
Yeah,
And get an understanding of here's exactly how much it is. You said it's around maybe 80,000 or more than that.
40,000.
40,000.
Total, 20 each, okay. So it's saved 40 already.
That.
Okay, so we can look at that then. And like you say, the sooner, it's probably just, if it rains or anything like that, it's just gonna get worse. All right. Anything else? Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
Think about that sidewalk, just throwing it out there.
You buy a new machine?
We're putting money away for it.
All right, get sleep, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Next on the agenda, Community Resource Center. And we have the memo from September and
Yeah.
the budget, which isn't any different than what we talked about before, I think.
Right. It's just
What number was this
organized
one?
in a way to show you.
It's 5B.
5B?
Yep.
I can't remember. Find it here. Here we go. Yeah, I don't think it's really changed from when we looked at it before, right?
It's the bottom line, so you had what they were saying, so in the past, they have accessed funds through the agency request
Right,
review committee
and I think
process.
it was
of
around
13,000.
14, yeah,
13.
13, yeah.
13, so the bottom line is 25,000, so they're asking for an additional 12,000 on top.
Yeah.
That's where they felt like they really needed to get into the town budget rather than going through that process. So we did have the agency request review committee adjust the funding
Yes.
that they provided by that 13,000. So it's not a $25,000 increase, it's really a $12,000 increase.
Okay, and
they spoke to
the
that.
expectation is, would we put this as a separate warrant line on there?
Just like the Carpenter Curse Library, and we would have a separate warning for that. They'd vote on the budget, you know, the Carpenter Curse Library budget, they vote on that separately, they'd vote on this budget separately. And we can have this page in the town report, just like we do. Carpenter Curse Library has their budget, which kind of details out what those revenues and expenditures are, and what they have an asterisk in the between the two that shows what their total
Yeah.
cash reserve balance was. So,
So the only question I have, I mean, you guys did great work and all that, is now that you've taken over the building and you started to absorb all those costs, is there an expectation like next year, you know, the cost just to do the same thing is going to go way up? Or if we were to do the same thing next year, it would be basically this same ask? It's not like the first step of another big.
Right. I mean, I think if you'll see in the fiscal year 19, we did a big fundraising effort and we got more money so that we could sort of do the initial extras that the building needed.
Yeah.
So we feel like those sort of initial things were done, and we still are working on a handicap ramp and some other things. But we, the difference is like our reserves, we are keeping $30,000 in reserve for the building. We're no longer using any more reserves for our programming, because we feel like that was a prudent way to go. Like, we want to make sure if there's a big expense.
You
Yeah, and
can
also
cover it.
anything building related is usually an easier grant ask. We've had some
Yes,
success
right.
doing that. We got a $10,000 grant to do heat pumps and some other improvements that needed to be
Yeah.
made. So we would not be coming to the
Yeah.
town for things like that.
Right. People feel better about giving when they know, oh, it's for new windows or it's for heat
Yeah.
pumps. Yeah. I get that. All right. Any other questions? I think that the town would support this. You're really focused on the town and all the benefits that provide. So, and you'll be at the meeting. And you're getting, 50,000 a year from individuals and businesses as donations, so people are supporting it.
And we're working on fundraising too and exploring all avenues that are open to us. We want the town to understand that as well.
yeah.
And we opened the thrift shop a couple years ago to have some sort of revenue stream, and we're now finding that we can count on about 8,000 a year for that.
That's great.
Even though it does take more volunteer effort to make it happen, and we do have a few very part-time employees, but that feels good to have another place that we're getting money.
Good. Any other questions?
No, just want to thank you. I think it's
Yeah.
a great thing that we've got this in town.
Thank you.
All right. Good, thanks.
Sign the, sign in on the sheet.
Next up, Energy Committee, and did something drop into our box?
Yes,
I don't think I saw it, but,
should be in there.
yeah, I
I
didn't
do
see it
have
earlier, that's
hard
all.
copies of some additional
5C.
information that Chuck brought.
What number would that one be?
5C.
Based on, it should be C.
Oh, yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
They all go in
5C?
alphabetical.
5C.
Yeah.
I don't have a 5C.
That's
I
weird.
don't either.
Well, sometimes it
Didn't drop.
didn't drop. Let me just put that, I can
copies are fine if you have them.
I can drop it in though. Let me just find it.
Let's see.
So, do we just take the first?
So, yeah, let me just get this.
Okay. Oh, there's, we take one of these and pass it on?
I think he has multiple copies. So Chuck, you had, these are the copies you brought. Are there, there's multiple of something right in the back? You had enough for everyone, or?
That one is enough for everybody, I have more of those. But those
These is
three
just-
copies are the actual proposals.
Yeah.
Which, the information I can describe to you, what's in it. I
Not
don't
for
know.
everyone in that
We
one.
need to have
These are-
one for everybody. I have a copy here too, if you want to see. But I'd like to do one.
I guess, do you have, able
I'm
to put something up
gonna,
there?
yeah, I'm getting ready to. Let me see. Well, actually, let me just put it on the screen, that
All
way
right,
you
I'm
can see
getting
it.
another piece of pizza.
Yes.
I don't need it.
Does anyone want pizza? Please help yourself.
Smells good.
Go. Yeah, you're welcome to some too, Chuck.
Oh, I just ate, but it does smell good.
The whole packet
Right.
was yours generally.
Oh, you didn't want one?
Well, I think it's the whole packet.
So this is their budget request of
Share it.
$4,300. It details what that is made up of. So $2,500 for municipal building energy assessment, $1,700 for community solar preferred renewable energy sites in Hinesburg. So we're exploring an assessment of that. And then $100 for renewable energy and energy efficiency workshops and forums.
Still not here.
So Chuck, if you
What
want-
was the budget last year, do you know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have it right here.
it's in your bigger spreadsheet.
For municipal buildings energy assessment, we had $1,500. And we are going to be doing that, before the end of the fiscal year. But we'd like to target 4 buildings in 4 municipal buildings. And I should say before, the motivation for this was somewhat, we had this already in the works last year, but at the town meeting, we also passed a energy resolution, and part of that B and C of that resolution was, let's look at our town municipal buildings and start there as we get our town, encourage people to get to net zero, which is kind of the goal we have set for our town in the town plan to be 90% renewable by 2050. So a lot of towns in the state are starting with their own municipal buildings, and we think that's a great idea. So we are targeting 4 buildings: the town hall where we sit now, the fire station, the police station, and the new municipal garage, actually. And when we say target, we are not doing just an efficiency analysis. This is an analysis that would actually create a path for each building to get to net zero. And it's more of an exploration of where the building's at, what it would take to get it to net zero, and what are the specifications that we would use to look to get there. And that then, I would imagine, becomes part of a capital budget plan that you would work on over time, so. If there is, but the initial assessment per building is $1,000. And we have been working with somebody who has generated a software program for a pilot study that's been done in the state. It's called Zero Energy Now. And that program has done a pilot of 30 buildings, plus buildings, of which we had 24 homes that have good data. That data is showing how effective this can be. And we have cut, and of the 30 homes we've cut, they have cut back fossil fuel by 60% on average, and the top 10 have been over 90%. So we've kind of figured out how to do this, and it really does involve upfront analysis of the building, which is what we're proposing here. And the analysis will be done by a company called New Leaf, which is actually a Hinesburg company. We did get a proposal from them, and it's outlined there. So that's what we would be using to, and the goals are set up there on the screen right now. So that's the municipal building energy assessment component of this. So we have already plugged in, we've had in our budget $1,500 from the 2019 budget. So we're adding an additional 25 to bring it up so that we can do all 4 buildings, complete all 4 buildings. And I know there's been some discussion about putting solar on buildings, but I do think this is probably the best way to start to figure out exactly what the building needs by way of renewable energy. And this will be assessed. We are mostly looking at transferring buildings to electrical heat by way of heat pumps, but biomass is also a component of some of the buildings we've done. And that would all be brought out in the analysis of the building itself.
So the 4 buildings are this one you said, and what are the others?
Firehouse, police station,
And the highway building.
and the highway building.
Oh, okay.
Police and the highway seem kind of odd to me, since we just spent literally millions of dollars to make sure we had efficient buildings in the first place.
This is a different approach. This is net zero, getting them to be based on renewable energy. And the police department has had some troubles. And
Yeah, I know.
that's what we really want to go in and find out what's going on there. And they do have some heat pumps. So I think we can generate for that a pretty good analysis of how to make that more efficient. The program really works with efficiency first. Figure out how we could tighten this building up, what air sealing we can do, what insulation we can do. And then we do an assessment, it's called the heat takeoff. So you actually analyze how much heat's leaving the building, through the windows, through the walls, et cetera. Then you figure out how that can be handled by electric heat, primarily heat pumps. And then you decide, what is your renewable source? It could be wind, but it's probably more than going to be solar.
Ain't gonna be wind. It's not gonna be wind, I'll say that.
Don't
And-
tell David Blitterstorff that.
I don't know where you're gonna get wind around here.
I know. But
It
for
seems
most
like the
buildings,
right
we're not
thing, but
excluding it.
I mean, yeah, it feels like you're going we're here, and you want to get here, which is what the goal is.
Right.
But on the way is, doing a good analysis of this building and figuring out how to just keep heating it with natural gas, but cut that in half. That's what you got to do first. And then you say, okay, now where are we at? Then you go to the next step and say, how do we utilize renewables? Could you use heat pumps here or whatever? But to try to get from that step, and here's where we're going, we got to get there first.
So to get there, you have to have an assessment.
Yes.
We're not saying put those things in now. We're saying generate the path so that any improvements we make or any things we change is along that path.
Right.
I'm a little concerned here that we're trying to put solar on the police station. Number one, it's not really good for solar. Number two, we don't even know how much solar goes on there. So let's look at it and weatherize it and get it to the point where it is as tight and insulated as possible. Then we go to the next step.
I would assume it's pretty tight and pretty insulated.
We did do a
I mean,
blower,
it could be better,
we did do a blower door test on it. It's not
and
that,
I think that that seems appropriate.
yeah.
But, I mean, if this report is gonna tell us what renewable energy we're gonna use to heat the building, I think you're going too far. Let's make the building tight, and then say, you know, then, after that, then what's the next step?
Don't you want to know the path first, how to get there?
And is it an overlap with what Efficiency Vermont does? I think Renee had Efficiency Vermont come here and assess this building.
They do a walkthrough, but this is a heat takeoff, this is a much more
I'm
detailed.
all
detailed.
for that.
Yeah.
Come in and do a complete analysis of the building and figure out how to make it tighter and, you know, more efficient. You know. But then, you know, and then you say, well, we're gonna, you know, include the next step. It just feels like that we gotta walk first. We're not walking. We've been not walking for a while. And we
I guess I'm not following your walk. Why would you not want to know where what's the path to get to that? Now, while we're doing
maybe
it.
the reason is it would be an additional cost to have that projected. And I think what Phil is saying, let's just go step by step. So let's do the assessment first, and then we can work on those things. And then when that's done, then we can put the money in to see what the next steps might be.
So a typical audit's about $500 for the additional $500 per building. You're getting a much more thorough, and you'll be able to plan with that too. It's doing the heat takeoff. Most of these audits don't do that. So I tell you what I do for mine for $500, and it's not what these guys are going to do. And these guys will give you a much better sense of what the building really needs and where the energy's going out. And I mean, they do infrared scans, they do heat takeoffs, they do it all.
So that's all part of the assessment of.
That is,
Right.
yeah.
But then they also take it and calculate how much heat you're gonna, once you insulate, once you do all that,
That's right.
how much you're gonna use. Well,
That's
I'm
right.
saying, let's get to the point where we see how much we actually use. And then you stop and say, all right, it's, you know, that boiler's getting to be 20 years old. Now we're gonna come in and put something else in.
So do you have them come in and do the secondary assessment then after that? Or what if the boiler goes tomorrow? So I guess I'm not understanding why you would want to delay just the information about how this can get there. So, I mean, again, we're basing it on, you know, where we have to go in a very short period of time, you know? And we're looking for the town to be kind of a demonstration for other people in town to say, this is our plan, this is how we do it. You can also do this to your house. So we thought we would start with you as the leaders of how to actually go about doing this. If you wanted to cut back, I could say we could do another, you know, do the garage maybe next year or something.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like maybe we might wanna pick
There
one
are
or
3
two
buildings that need to be really looked
Yeah.
at right now.
I really can't believe what I'm hearing about our brand new building stuff. It boggles my mind that we jumped through all these hoops, planning for the most efficient building we could find. And now here we are, basically a year from building one of them, and now we need to do an assessment on it. I'm shocked. And the same with the police department. I mean, we know there's been issues down there, but the answer is, who screwed up? But that's the question anyway. Who screwed up? And did we put the wrong stuff in to begin with? Is that the problem? But it seems crazy. We went above and beyond to make these buildings efficient, and they're not. In my mind, somebody ought to be responsible for it. But just to keep assessing buildings, I don't know. I get what you're saying. We want to find a way to make them efficient, but holy cow. I mean, they're multi-million-dollar buildings. They should be efficient. As a taxpayer, that's how I feel. I mean, we thought we were doing everything we needed to make these buildings efficient, but it turns out they're not. Whether the pieces of equipment we put in there, thinking they were good, turned out to be junk, maybe that's what we need to find out, but it seems to me somebody ought to be responsible. I don't know who that's going to be, probably nobody, but just
Yeah, I
to
don't
keep
know. I
assessing
mean,
buildings.
We know we have an issue with the police department, it seems, we think. I don't know, have you looked at it
I've
at all?
been in the building, yeah. It's leaky, yeah. And again, this analysis will point out where the problems lie, and then some. So I think it's probably worthwhile doing there, And the municipal building, the garage is, we're not talking about just efficiency, we're talking about transitioning to net zero. If that's a brand new building, that one could probably wait. So if we wanted to, I'd say, but these 3 buildings, I think, could really use it.
And I think there's so much the town can take on too,
Yeah.
right? So all of this is gonna cost money. And,
Some of it
we
will
can certainly
actually pay
argue,
back itself, I'm sure.
And the fire.
Some of it, I'm not saying all of it.
yeah.
The fire department keeps talking about their new building. I don't know when it's gonna happen, but if they are able to pull that off, maybe it's not a good idea to do stuff with the fire department building at this time.
Unless we knew for sure what was happening, I think the 3 buildings seem to be worthwhile to be looking at, but, and I'm not arguing with you. I think, yes, we want to know this information in the beginning, but I'm anxious to get started and get moving on this. And, if we try to bite off more than we can chew, we're not going to get there. And so I think we look at this building and look at the police building and the fire department building and look at it for efficiency and then start saying, okay, here are the actions that we can take right now, boom, 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 to cut fossil fuel use.
Some of those actions, sometimes I'll go into a building and realize that while we're in the attic, we can also set this up for solar, we can.
That's a possibility.
There's a lot of things that can happen as we do some of those things. So I think it'd be better personally to get a good holistic sense of what the building's doing and how it functions. And, part of this grant also is looking at options for incentives and stuff like that, so.
Part of this would do that.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty thorough, actually. That's in this one, Phil, the new leaf.
So at the end of this,
It's in your Dropbox,
of the
though.
assessment,
Hold on. Actually,
is one of the deliverables out of it
Still, even though
I don't know, multi-year roadmap?
That's
Like,
yeah.
we recommend you hit this and hit that, and, what's gonna give us the most savings for the investment and that type of thing?
And the first roadmap part is tighten the building up. So that all that information will be there. Then once you're at that point, you'll know what the BTU load is going to be for the house or the building. And then you go to, the next step, which would probably be heat pumps. And then after that, you would want to supply that with solar. So yeah, that's the roadmap, absolutely. But the first part is a very detailed description of how to tighten the building up. And there are some behavioral things that may happen, in particular with the police force, that may be contributing to the high energy load there. It's a really high energy load. This is a little more thorough than just saying, here's your blow door number. So I think it would be money well spent personally. So, yeah. And then we can sort of look for grants to do things. We have a plan. If there's somebody who, maybe we can encourage, foundations or something to help us, But the first part is to have a plan,
Mm-hmm. So if we were to hold off, do the 3 buildings, is there a change in that would
I
change
would
the scope a
change
little bit?
the item number 1 to 1,500. We would just take $1,000 out of that.
So we're talking about number 1 there
Yeah.
for that, yeah,
Yep.
which really isn't a lot of money either, but, and then what's the next item?
That is, we're looking at preferred renewable energy sites in Hinesburg, combination community solar, and there's an assessment. We're trying to find 2 sites in Hinesburg for the 2 utilities here, one in the GMP territory and one in the Vermont Electric territory. So we would run assessments on the old landfill to see if that's a possibility for our community solar site. And then we were looking at somewhere, maybe by the treatment center or another area where we could actually do another one. And that's like an initial review and then some field follow-up with that.
So you'd do some sun eye readings,
Yeah,
and then understand the property,
yep.
and then where the utilities are.
Right, we
That-
look at what's available for connections and stuff like that, yeah. We have some funds in the 2019 budget that we're, going to not be using, and we're going to allocate towards that, and I'm assuming that's okay. But that's why we're asking, you'll see the budget, that's a low number, but if we can reallocate some of and some of that budget we haven't spent yet, and we're planning to do that in the fiscal year 2019, 2020.
So Chuck, at one point last year, there was an idea that the Energy Committee had to put electric pumps in the town hall parking lot. So, for electric cars.
Oh, you mean a charging station?
That's what I mean, yeah.
We were trying to land a grant. We were working with EFG to see if we can get a grant from GMP. They had a couple of opportunities there for grant money for that. We are still going to try and pursue that, but that money didn't end up being allocated to us.
Okay,
So that was a pursuing of a grant, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So the assessment for the solar in GMP territory, that's not something where Green Mountain Power is building the community solar. It's just for us locating something near. So if
Right.
someone was to build it out, the community solar, you'd more easily be able to connect into the Green Mountain Power. Is that? I'm just wondering what the GMP territory part is about.
Well,
You're going to
It's just
each
a good
utility,
site.
so if it's a community solar, half the people in Hinesburg are GMP, half are
Correct.
Vermont
Yeah.
Electric. So if you were to build a community solar, it's gonna be in one or the other, and they're not gonna divide it up. So,
you can't go from one utility to the other. So if, say you wanted to be part of it, we did a system down here and you're in Vermont Electric, you can't be part of that.
Right.
So that's why we're looking at two sites, and, that would also help, if it's on town land, we could also use part of that towards our buildings to offset if we do start putting heat pumps in, so we could use that, and then what we don't use, we could allocate, people could buy into the system.
are you looking at just town land?
For now, yeah.
So, let me ask this question. So why wouldn't we just go to Encore and say, hey, come look in Hinesburg at all the town land and tell us where you can develop solar?
Because you would have somebody else doing the production. It wouldn't be community solar. It would be their project. I mean, it's the same thing that's going on McGee Hill Road. That's Vermont Electric. They call it community solar, but it's not. You're just buying into get your electricity from them.
So the funding you're thinking you'd get from the community?
The funding can actually come from grants or a company like Green Renewables, I think it's called, that actually help communities develop it, and then people buy into the system. The town could actually buy into it, and it would probably be much more cost effective for the town to do that.
I mean, you're gonna need somebody to develop it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Encore would come and develop it.
Yeah, but
They won't own it.
That's one group.
Yeah.
There's other groups that
Yeah.
are really working to set this up, yeah.
I'm
But
just,
we would assess it to see where it is, and then we would pursue which company we want to work with. I mean, this is a multi-year kind of program that we're suggesting.
and,
Encore has looked at the observatory site.
oh, they have?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't we do type of model where they, Encore, whoever does this thing would come in, assess the land, and they would just lease the property, and
Well, that's,
people would
yeah.
reap the benefits rather than us buying a bunch of solar panels.
This is an assessment, it's not buying the panels.
No, but in the future, after the assessment was done, if they found a location.
I mean, I think there'd be several options. on
There would
how
be a
you
lot
go
of
about
options.
doing
I think what we're trying to do is explore those. And some of the options with the community solar is a lot less expensive than if you have a developer that owns it and then leases it out. So this is an initial assessment, see which is the best way to go here. And it may very well be Encore or Green.
So what, will we get that out of this, besides identifying the sites, which we kind of already know where potential sites are?
There are some issues in terms of the sites, Krebs and Lansing is one of our groups that's going to do analysis, and they'll look at grid ties, they'll look at other things. Then we also need environmental discussions, if there's wetlands, and all that stuff is much less expensive if we do it than if we have Encore do it, or some other group, because they would just sub it out. What we're doing is the initial review to see what makes the most sense for our town. And then we'd have a discussion about, that data in our hand, we'd have a discussion about where do we go from here.
And who would do this? What?
One group is called Krebs and Lansing, who have done a lot of solar siting work, and the other one is called Arrowwood, which is an environmental group they would look at more of the natural resource stuff. So, yeah, I think it would be very, very useful information if we're serious about transitioning to renewables. You want to plug that in somewhere?
Running out of energy? And then the last item is more educational stuff, which you guys have done.
Once we collect some information about the municipal buildings and the solar sites, we would then open it up. We were hoping to have a community solar discussion, and then, and again, it's not a lot of money, but it's just enough to keep, if we have to put information out and stuff at the meeting and whatnot. We're not planning to hire anybody to come in, we're just planning to collect our information and present it, so. So I did leave some of the proposals here for you guys to look at too. I can leave these
Or
copies.
maybe we can get them in our Dropbox, that would be good, and we can look at them.
I mean, they are in your Dropbox.
Oh, they're in there now, yeah.
The only thing that wasn't in Dropbox were the other things you brought this afternoon.
What was the number?
5C.
There's 3 of them.
So there's the budget and then the 3 proposals.
Oh, maybe I have to do like a refresh or something, because it
Yeah,
just got
probably
dropped in
refresh.
there.
I think that's what's
Okay.
going on.
I don't know, any other questions? I didn't mean to beat up on you on the thing. I'm just anxious to get going, and I don't want us to like, get dragged down in trying to, I won't say pie in the sky, but come to the end where we have to take steps 1 through 5 to get to the end.
So we're very anxious to get started too, Phil. We actually, as a committee, want to really do something. So this really has motivated our committee to sort of get rolling. And
So on the solar on the police station, you're saying, hey, we got to figure out how many panels we need for the police station. It's all town space. So why wouldn't we just maximize it? Because the fire department could use it, and so could the town. There's all.
Well, part of the assessment is going to tell you probably that that's not a good building to put solar on.
Why is that?
Because it's not orientated the right way. The best building to put it on is the fire station, actually. So if we look at the fire station, I would say put it on the fire station and ship it over to the police department. But we'd also want to look at structurally at what that, so there's a lot more to this data than you might think, but there really is. So if the firehouse can hold it, that's where I would put the panels. You've got a couple gables, it's running the wrong direction. Then there's some gables on it that block it, a good part of the day. So that's not the best spot, because we don't even have a really one south large facing surface. So by design, it was not that great. So now the garage is a different story.
Right.
That one's perfect for solar.
It was designed for.
And part of our reason of including the garage is because we can look at that building and say, well, that's maybe where all the solar should go. But that's Vermont electric territory, so that's a problem. But
it's not when their bill is $500 a month.
If their bill's high enough, that's where I would put it. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, and this building's very good for solar too. Yeah.
Even with a slate roof?
Oh yeah, we put them on anything.
But isn't that more problematic with the slate roof as far
Well,
as?
you gotta have the
that's-
right person to put the brackets on the roof, but yeah, we've put
Yeah.
them on. I have, my company anyway, yeah. But yeah. And again, that might be an aesthetic question. You know, so if we put it on the garage, but then again, we can't ship that
Right.
stuff over here. But if we had panels in the field over there, maybe where, or, you know, another site here, then we could start thinking about how that's all gonna happen, so. Yeah, this is all kind of, they are intertwined, these requests we're making, you know.
All right, anything else?
All right, more questions, let me know.
And your committee's doing well. I mean,
Yeah, we're at full complement now,
Yeah.
believe it or not. Yeah, we just picked up a new individual, and he's a lawyer that focuses on renewable
Right,
energy.
right.
Josh Lecky, yeah, he's great. So, yeah,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
See ya.
So we're scheduled for a 5-minute break. Can we take it now? instead of
Yes, we
later on?
can.
Yeah.
I can eat pizza. In the microphone.
All right, we can get started again. We're about halfway through the budgets, not even, really. Next up is police.
Come on up.
Caleb and Anthony. And that's in our budget.
5D.
Yep.
Everything like 5D, there's a budget memo, which is what's open right now, and then the
Right.
department budget.
I think the memo was pretty clear on, some of the things. The biggest hit, I think, is on the salaries, and that's based on sort of the three-year plan that we had of providing, correct me if I'm wrong, 3% raise to get the salaries, competitive, and then a little 2% at certain increments,
5-year increment.
5-year increments. Then the rest is, I think, professional services for the police station, which was in the budget, which was in the memo, I think. Do you guys want to talk about it at all? or-
Well, I think we've talked about it before, potentially reevaluating the salaries. Everybody is reevaluating. You go from full staff to barely being able to run a department very quickly. Richmond was full staff a month and a half ago, and now they're down 3. Same thing with Williston. Williston lost 2 to Shelburne. People are going from department to department for just a little bit more money. So it's imperative that we stay on that. We're good now, but we just have to make sure that we stay good.
Competitive out there.
Competitive,
Yeah.
yes.
So it's not a budget question, but it goes to that. So what part of the pay structure, benefits, all that stuff, are we most under competitive in? Salaries, benefits, you know what I mean? I know salaries tends to be the big thing that everybody looks at, but
It's salaries. Our health benefits are pretty good. Salaries are decent now. They weren't before, but this thing that we did over the past 2.5 years or so
yeah.
got us. I mean, we're not paying what UVM's paying, but we're competitive in the county now, which we were not before.
Okay.
And retirement is rough for us because we're in Veemer's plan B, which is, it'll get you a decent cardboard box at the end of 30 years.
Oh, that's good. Glad to hear it.
So,
The reason I mentioned both Richmond and Williston was because both those chiefs reached out to me in preparing their budget and preparing their new salaries. And I know that they're doing it because they want to be ahead of us. So it's going to keep happening.
So they've just lost a couple in Richmond, is that what you said?
Richmond lost 3. I talked to him. We met 2 months ago. He said he was full staffed, and now he lost 1 to us, but
Yeah.
they're down 3 total. And I believe Chief Foley just told me they were down 4. He said he wants to do all these things, but he can't do anything because he just doesn't have the staffing. And I know 2 of those guys went to Shelburne.
We've talked in the past about having, salary is important, no question about it. Everybody, looks at that first. But having a good environment and a good, place to work too will, if people are not happy with where they are, then they're going to start looking for sure. So are we feeling like, things are pretty settled and got to fill that other position. And that's moving along.
Yes, we actually will be coming on January 1st.
Okay.
So,
Oh, that's good to know.
position.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's good.
So they'll be up to full staff.
And do you want to talk about the capital transfer?
Yeah, let me just pull up that.
While she's doing that, I'm going to assume that staffing is part of a larger problem that's more than just salaries. Is that right? From what I'm hearing on the news, anyway.
You're talking across the state and country. I don't
Yeah. You know,
Right, yeah, harassment.
right. There's just
less candidates for every
less
job.
candidates wanting to do the job. So, I mean, I think we need to keep that in mind as well. I'm glad that we've got the salaries back up to where we're competitive. But at some point, there's only so much communities can pay, and if it's other things that are part of the problem, those need to be addressed. Probably not at this level.
Just the job demands, you're saying, and the stress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, everything that you're hearing about, treatment of officers. I saw recently that guy in Brattleboro walking down the middle of the street. I think it was Brattleboro or Bennington, whatever. Just a belligerent individual, and you could tell that the officer did not dare touch this guy. And I'm thinking to myself, how can these guys work like this? So those are the kind of things that I see, and it's just the position that you guys are in, and really the country is in because of different things, we'll say. But it's just something that I think we need to keep in the back of our mind. It's not always about how much
That's a
you're paying
difficult
somebody.
job, no question about it.
Right.
You have to put up with a lot.
We just try to do the best that we could do at the level that we're
Right.
on. You know, as a small department, there's things that we're just never going to be able to offer, or at least not anytime soon, like a detective position. There's some guys get into law enforcement and they're adamant that they want to be a detective. A canine, it's certainly a possibility, but it's not a possibility at this moment. There's things that people want to accomplish in a career, and you have to weigh good scheduling, good family life, good department versus do you want to be a detective?
Mobility.
Or mobility.
Yeah, upward mobility. Yeah.
So actually, the capital transfer, I'll double check it, I think it should be $36,237.90. The payments of $13,118.95. Double check and see if that's the right, unless,
You're
let me just check on the payment schedule here. $13,100, okay, so according to that, then it's, what your figure is right then, because.
yeah, the 231.
Yeah, so I just haven't changed, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just haven't changed it in the capital improvement plan, but, so 36,231.11
Yep.
is the right number. So it reflects the payments on the two vehicles, as well as the 10,000 in mobile equipment technology that, savings toward.
Yep. So we'd say last year 10, and then this year 10?
Last year, 5, because we
okay.
had 5,000
Yeah.
that we applied, that we had in reserves. But the plan was to do 10,000 a year.
And I know we talked about the vehicles, and I always say, how come we're not staggering it a little more? So in this budget, we're talking about, we would replace them in FY '21, but the first payments wouldn't happen till the next
22. Yeah.
next year.
So we've just put 15,000 as a placeholder is what we're saying, but, you can see the payments seem to be going down a little bit from where they were before, but it all depends on what the interest rates are and all of that, so.
Do you want to just talk about the two vehicles you plan to replace?
Good.
So we have two 2014, I believe they are. It gets confusing because you buy them and then it takes 6 months to get them, and they're titled or registered as 15s, I believe, but they're 14s, Ford Interceptors. By the time we get rid of them, they should have right around 100,000 miles on them. They are not great cars. The Ford Interceptor that they came out with is, I believe, the cheapest police vehicle on the market, and there's a reason for that. I pretty much spend half my time gluing parts back on them. The idea of the rotation that we've been through with the 6 years is to get rid of these vehicles before we start repairing major things like transmissions and motors and things like that. It's been successful for, when did we start this? We're at least 12 years in now, I think.
Well,
with
I know.
2 sets of vehicles.
I know we were definitely doing it in 2012, I believe, so I don't know. if
11,
it's-
we started with the top.
Was it 11?
Was
Top
that
one,
the
the
first one?
Charger.
12, might have been,
Okay.
so.
So we're on our second set of vehicles. If we stretch out vehicles, it's a gamble. Especially these two. I'm not happy with these cars that we got this last time, or the time before, the old ones. They're not quality. We've been fixing things on them since we got them. They're just cheap.
What would we buy next?
Dodge has a couple of options. The last Ford that we got isn't as bad as the first 2, but I don't know as we'd go down that road again.
It's still bad. I mean,
Yeah.
they've improved on the product, but the first month we got the new Interceptor, I was parked and it started raining, and then water was just pouring in from everything was closed, and it was, I don't know where it was coming from, but it was pouring in as fast as it was raining. And that's the product that we've received.
Just sounds like a lemon.
It is.
It's across the board, though. I mean,
Yeah.
Shelburne's cars are the same way.
Huh.
Everybody's dealing with the same thing. But as municipalities, we tend to just kind of buy what everybody else is buying, and
Yeah.
that's the hot ticket right now because it's the lowest dollar amount you can shell out for a brand new car. So there's
There's so many things. We brought it in to fix the exhaust issues, like everybody was supposed to do, and you still smell exhaust when you're sitting in the car. How many times did we bring it in for recalls that, they told us there was nothing wrong, and we were fixing it, and then finally they issued the recall on that one thing. Like the door panels came apart the first year that we had the car, just brand new car, and the door panels were ripping off the sides of the car. So.
All right, any other questions?
I just want to say I like the idea of this is me, right? Computer guy. I like the idea of the computers, right? Going to a docked where you can take it with
Yeah,
you.
that is, seems to be a smarter way. Everybody has their own, basically, and takes it with them.
It'll reduce the overall amount of computers that we'll need, because we'll no longer need fixed computers in the cars. So the person will be able to take their desktop to the car. And the tablets are cheaper than, I believe those laptops were $4,500 a piece, and the tablets are around $2,500 a piece. So. And even I realized even our newest computers in the office, we have 3 newer ones, which I think date back to probably around 2012, are running Windows 7. So we're at the point where everything needs to be replaced.
So this year, we'll be able to take some of what we've put aside and start purchasing these?
And since they go in the car, they're highway safety related, a portion of them. So we do have grant options to pay for a portion, but that's what the mobile data savings is, to offset anything like that.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
So that $10,000 for the mobile technology replacement fund that we're saving each year goes out to, what, 25?
I'm just saying every year. So 25 is as far as this capital improvement plan goes.
Right. So that's not when we're planning to make those
No.
replacements, you'd be staggering it out over time or all of
It's
So
that.
the
savings
funds.
for when they need to be replaced.
Right. Yep.
So it's building a capital reserve fund
Yep.
for that purpose.
It's radios as well, which are they're gonna need to be replaced. I foresee probably within the next year or two, at least one car system is gonna have to be upgraded. We got ours the same time as Richmond, and Richmond is already, 2 of theirs are broke. So we're starting to have problems with 2.
It's always something.
So which professional services are being changed? Because that's almost $5,000 difference.
We realized that things were costing more and we didn't keep up with it in the budget. The cleaning service, the cost to keep the radars tested and maintained, as well as now that Doug Olofsson has left, we're also going to need somebody that can do the things that he was doing, or at least maintain our computers and our networking. We're also going to need to have somebody come in and upgrade the entire our whole setup, and that's mandated by the state. Shelburne's already done it, and that's going to be, I believe it was $1,906 for the upgrade.
Is that like a security?
It's a security issue. Everything gets routed through DPS, Public Safety Department in Vermont, and we have to do what they want done to keep everything secure.
So there's a lot in that professional services.
Yes.
That's, I think everything, I think there was $1,000 increase for everything, and then the remainder of the increase was just based off of the computer upgrades and services for maintaining the computers.
We also did the bare minimum as far as them providing us service. And right now, we don't have any sort of backup or anything. So that's another thing that they would provide us if something was to happen.
This is the IT service you're going to bring in.
Yes. And it's the same one that Shelburne's using, so he's experienced with police systems as well.
He'll probably come up with some new ideas.
Some must-haves.
Well, I mean, it's good to have somebody, looking at the network and whatnot, so
Yeah.
this is good.
So what year are we in the plan to bring the salaries back up? Because 7%, is that going to be ongoing?
So it's the 3% every year.
Right.
And then 2% when each officer member hits a 5-year mark.
Right.
So then they get an additional 2%.
So that could probably go back and
It
forth.
fluctuates, but that 7% is also reflecting the fact that when we did this budget report, we had a empty slot, and we budgeted for the maximum amount that we would pay a experienced officer if we found them. So that is maximum amount. So
Okay.
it's not necessarily, it's not, so, say we find some guy with 20 years on that wants to come work here and would be a great fit, we're only gonna pay you X. Even though you've got tons of experience, this is the maximum amount we'll pay.
Yep.
So that's what we budgeted for. We find some guy that only has 2 years on, he's not gonna make that. it's gonna be less. So I
Right.
think a combination of that and, the regular increases for the pay scale is how we ended up with that 7%. So that actually will, based on the person that we're in the process of hiring, will come back down a little bit.
So how many, there's one open position?
One for a full-time officer, yeah. That was the open position that.
That's been
was
open since
vacated
Anthony,
since-
yeah.
Right, but that one's being filled January 1st, you said? Okay.
Great.
We should all keep in mind too that we were shorthanded before my position for various reasons, which what we had talked about. So it's not going to be as much of a struggle as it's been since my position has been gone, but it's still there's still problems with staffing.
I mean, I think it's fair to say these guys were saying, hey, we might, you know, we're at a point, maybe we're gonna need another person. So it wasn't this year, but maybe a future discussion.
The single shifts have become more prevalent, and even with this spot, we're still going to be doing it, and that's the thing we'd like to try to reduce. As time goes on, guys get more vacation time, more time bank earned because they're going on call outs. They're going to want to take that time. When they take that time, we end up going down to
Singles.
to one, which can be a major issue when we're going to any emergency, but specifically, you know, domestic by ourselves.
Not ideal. And I think there was some discussion about holiday too, where for a while, you know, like during Christmas or whatever holidays, it'd be like light coverage, and you're finding out, hey, these tend to be busy days. They can be very busy days.
That, it had been practice for, well, as long as I've been here, to run single shifts on holidays to save money because it's holiday pay. And what is in the budget this year, which it's going to be minor, but it's going to contribute to that 7%, is having the funds available to at least run a double shift on the night shift of a holiday. So, you know, if it's, you know, Christmas Eve or Thanksgiving, is that a holiday for us? Yeah. I don't remember. You know, Thanksgiving night can be
A busy night.
some families take naps because they ate too much food, and other families have disagreements, you know. And when we're running a single shift to save money and we send one officer to that call and something bad happens, that's not necessarily, you know, oh, why did you have one guy on? Well,
Right.
we were trying to save money, you know. So
So that's in there too.
that is an increase in there as well.
Just being realistic, I think that holidays aren't slow days necessarily.
If we can't find somebody to work, that's one thing. But if we know a day is problematic and we're telling somebody to go home and something bad happens, it's a whole different story.
All right? Everybody all set? You guys all set?
You guys have any other questions or anything that,
So I just want to be clear. In reality, we need 2 officers, and 1 is in the pipeline to come in. So you're still, even though it's not in the budget, down an officer, is what I'm hearing. Is that about right?
by their existing framework,
Yeah.
they'll be full staffed on January 1st. What they're saying
Is
is
there-
they'd like to work
Yeah.
towards.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
When I started, it was always 2 officers and a supervisor, either Frank or Caleb. There's never there's days where Caleb's on alone for 4 days or I'm on alone for 4 days. So even, like I said before, even with this, we're still going to be down. That was because it was a different dynamic then. We had basically new guys. they wanted to work. You know, they didn't have a lot of time bank built up or anything. The dynamic is totally different now, and it's also a good thing though that we have people that are sticking around. So people that know the town, you know, we have an investment in these people now.
So I'll ask a question since we just heard about the station, utilities and whatnot. What's your take on the building itself?
I think it was built for now. It's not built for the future.
No, I don't. I mean, in terms of why we're spending as much as we are on utilities and whatnot when it was supposed to be.
Well, when we first got the building, somebody had come to the PD, and he was from out of the country, and he wanted to see our heating system, and he had never seen one in operation before, and he was just so amazed that you know it was actually functioning. And my opinion on it was, how do we install something in our building that's never been tested before? And that there's a lot of that. The locks that are starting to fail. I said to the lock company, I said, "Well, do these often fail?" And he was like, "Well, I've never put them in a building before." So we're finding that across the board that how do you know, if you're building a building, we should be putting in things that are tried and true, not things that are experimental. And then things that I would have liked to have seen, like solar, are not there. Solar is a guarantee. You know, you're going to get your money back at some point. And not just that, people see that, and we're sort of an example for other, to inspire other people. We're talking about, fields to put solar panels, and we have our rooftops that are bare. So I just don't understand that, why we don't have them on top.
Tom, just kind of what you were bringing up earlier about the new buildings. I think the police department may possibly be a technology and programming issue more than a leaky window door issue.
Yeah, I think
It's the heating system itself is very hard to manage. And the technology between the floor and the heat pump and everything, and we've had several people in there trying to figure it out.
Has it improved?
What's that?
The last time, has it improved a little bit?
We're holding
Yeah.
steady. Like,
Yeah.
we're not having any of those big issues
The
where you
really
realize
large.
that the air conditioning is blasting because it's fighting the floor or anything
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
But I think there is a technology issue in there more than a leaky building issue.
Actually, don't think that's unique to the police department.
No?
Well, I think
Right.
the highway garage had problems when they first started
My
too.
house too.
Yeah. They did, because Mike was
Some
asking me
startup.
how's ours ran, because he has the
But
same
it should,
similar
I
computer
mean, it
thing.
can work, it's a matter of really looking at it. And,
Yes.
Yeah, understanding.
But when we have the person that installed it, or the person that was, tasked with maintaining it, we have these people come in and they don't understand it. What hope does that give us? And that's what's happened.
Can you clip the wire and hook up a thermostat?
I love it.
Even now, I can't tell you how many times there's errors. It's just, and then we reset everything, and then a week later, there's every keypad in the building says errors. Last week, we both got notified that, I don't know what it was. The alarm company said that
It was an error in the heating system alarm.
2:30 in the morning.
It's just frustrating.
Warranty or something?
It's very frustrating. Because not only is it not right, we continue to spend money on utilities that we could probably solve by literally clipping a wire and hooking up a thermostat that we can turn up and down. Unfortunately, that seems to be the case. But
Even in the summer, we reach a certain temperature, we have to go upstairs and shut the fan off, because the system can't keep up with it being that hot out, because we're taking in, I believe, 93% outside air. So we have to, I think once it gets to above 83 degrees or something like that. We have to actually shut the fan off to.
All right, back to the budget. Is there anything else? All right.
$30 for a thermostat.
Yeah.
If you'd like to stop down sometime, I'll show you what the issues are.
Oh, God.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
And glad to hear we filled the position. That's great.
Yeah.
Can you say the name? Or not yet? That's all right. Don't say it unless you know for sure. All right, next. Fire EMS.
Kidding.
So I guess it's okay. So we've
5 to E.
put, yeah, what number?
5E.
Of course, a lot of discussion about ambulance going on. And this budget does not have an ambulance service. It does have the first full-time person for the day shift in it. And we will have an executive session to talk about ambulance and potential contracts later on. I think we'll end up doing that. So there'll be more discussion about this.
We do that
But
in this
because,
Yeah,
at
this
the end
one,
of
yeah.
this meeting, but because there's could potentially be contracted, we don't want to talk too much about what we think the budgets are around that. So this one's 5E?
This is 5E. Yep.
So I think the big change here, there's a couple adjustments, but the big change here is a full-time person. Why don't you talk about what they would, why do we need it, and what would they do, and
So we running on to much more frequently missing daytime calls. We actually had one missed yesterday. 20-year-old girl unconscious. So, yeah, it was yesterday.
Yeah, it's just a.
I had so many calls again today. It was a blur. It's it's very unfortunate when we don't have anybody to respond. In this particular case, UVM Rescue came to St. George basically on the off Oak Hill. So by the time she got to the hospital, it was a little over an hour from the initial call. And it really, there are a number of things that we don't get accomplished now that we really should. A lot of it around fire prevention, going to the schools. Most of that, the school safety committee meetings I go to, which, it's monthly. We don't do any outreach to try to lessen the number of calls that we get relating to, like at Kelly's Fields, and we get asked to do visits to the daycares and the nursery schools and the school, and we do accomplish the October one. A lot of paperwork that we do actually pay someone now to do could be shifted on to that person, so that we're not, it's really a relocation of some funds, but and there are a lot of tasks. I mean, like tonight, normally it's our business meeting, we would do truck checks. So that takes everybody we've got about an hour to do all the trucks, and that gets done once a month. So, if you have something come up missing or broke in the meantime, maybe I'll get a call about it if they happen to think of it. And where you have a daytime person, that's one of their checks. They go through the trucks every day to make sure everything's where it ought to be and operational. A lot of moving things around, like yesterday, we had to take Med 100 to get the brakes done. And that entailed taking all the important medical equipment off, putting it over on engine 3, but we had to take all the stuff off engine 3, so we had a place to put it. So, that's, then the truck gets delivered and repaired and brought back and reverse operation done. So, there's a lot of things that could be done much better that we aren't doing today, really. And I really think some of that would actually result in savings in the maintenance side of things because things get caught quicker. Or now they may get caught if they happen to go out on a call, somebody remembers to say something about a problem. With that one, they'll be being checked regular and we can get it in a much more timely manner. And then the whole daytime EMS thing, that's a whole nother, it would in our top line there with the call reimbursements, a lot of that probably would end up being offset because you won't have the number of people, if we've got people around in the daytime to go, that person would be going instead of 2 or 3 other people to a call that only needs one person to go.
So, and it's okay that for one person to go.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah.
CO detector alarms and, there's a number of things that one person can really go to. Now it goes out to everybody and whoever, or if there's somebody around, they'll take the call, and go do it, so.
I would assume this person would go to the Thursday trainings, probably.
Correct, yeah. And they would help set those trainings up and, Eric right now does a lot of the relicensing for all the EMS people and it's amazing how much work there is to be done to keep somebody licensed. Just the paperwork part of it is crazy because you have to have all your training hours kept. Those all have to be submitted to the National Registry. Then the person gets those paperwork back and then they have to be submitted to the state. Then they come back from the state. Then finally everything's good to go. So, there's quite a little bit when you're running, I don't know, what is it, 15, 18 people doing EMS now.
Yeah.
It's quite a lot of time it takes to do that. And, some of the things, that we do every day that takes time away from the volunteer's life can be done by that person. So it'll really help alleviate hopefully some of the burnout too, because they're not having to come in on their own time, which they do. We get a lot of stuff done on our own time, and we'll be able to have that person really do those things for us. And I think it'll improve the general mental health of the department really to have somebody there to do it, not have to worry about how am I going to get there sometime during the day. Like Eric goes in every day to change batteries on the autopults. I mean, you don't think much about that, but it takes him 20 minutes, half hour every day. He has to go in and change them.
To drive in and do it, rather than that could be a task, a daily task.
Absolutely.
And every week to 10 days, refilling the oxygen tanks that we carry. There's a couple people keeping track of the EMS inventory and doing the ordering when, as things get low. It's, and some of that stuff's getting done on weekends on our personal family time because there's no other time to do it.
And I think it's just, we've got to the point where, unfortunately daytime, most of the time it's Dave Esty, and he's pretty well said he's done after this budget. He's just burned out from doing it. I mean, we had about 3 calls today, I think.
How many people are available during the day, Monday through Friday?
Dave and I, pretty much. That's
Just 2 people?
right now. I mean, we were lucky today with that car. One of the car accident we had, I think we had 5 people today, which is kind of unusual right now. I mean, and it's just because nobody's working in town. I do have some of the college kids are back now for Christmas break, so we'll be good for till they go back to school, and then we'll be back down again.
Yeah, a couple of us are on vacation, so Dave gets a break.
Yep.
But afterwards, they're on their own again.
Yep. So I mean, it's I mean, and it's been dwindling down. I mean, it ebbs and flows with who's around during the day, you know, and we do have somebody that's in the A class now, and he's working on an ambulance, so he's got a different shift now, so he'll be around some during the day, so, but, you know, it's every third day or every fourth day, so, you know, it's kind of, I don't want to say a shotgun approach, but we kind of know who's around pretty much, and with the radios, we can tell who's going, and vehicle maintenance, which is a highlighted one there. Unfortunately, I'd like to say it's going to be better this year. You know, we did raise it quite a lot, and you know, the current budget year we're in, we're going to probably be over again because it's just
Number of calls.
Number of calls has a lot. Number of calls and age of the vehicles has a lot to do with it. So I mean, it's, you know, we're fortunate we've got as many new vehicles as we do have. Really, a lot of people, but you know, we're probably going to hit 500 calls this year. You know, so that's a fair number of calls, and you know, it's not like it's a leisurely thing when you go to a call. You know, and a lot of this is brakes. I mean, you're coming off Texas Hill, you know, with 70,000 pound trucks, or 40,000 pound trucks, and you know, it's hard on brakes. You know, and when you're going to a call, you're hard on the brakes. So, you know, we've had a couple unfortunate things, which with our EMS trucks, it's cost us a lot of money this year. Hopefully, there's going to be a class action suit, so maybe we'll get a little bit of the money back. But you know, I think so far this year it was $1,900 today for the brakes. It was $6,000 for the exhaust system, 2012 exhaust system plug diesel. So I mean, you know, it takes its toll, I guess is the best way to put it, on the vehicles. And you know, we've been fortunate. You know, the fleet's beginning to get some age. Last year, engine 3, we spent over $11,000 on engine 3 on maintenance. So I'd like to say that's not going to happen again this year, but I mean, it won't be that much, knock on wood, but and that one's a 2003, so 2003. So
the 24 is kind of based on experience.
Yeah, based on experience.
Could be
absolutely.
lower, but
Yep.
you know, hopefully it's not
Hopefully
higher.
it will be, yeah.
And then the next item there is the station repair, which seems much higher than even our experience.
Right. Yeah, so what's happened with station repair, so we had Polly come in and look at the station and go through and look at just to bring it up to a maintained safe level, and it was just under $300,000 what needed to be done. So, you know, we said, well, you know, we can't see that. So, you know, this is gonna do minimal maintenance. So we've got to replace side doors, some of the work on the overhead doors in the front. You know, maybe if we're lucky, we can get some painting done. But you know, it's a 1972 building, so it's beginning to show its age. And you know, over the years, the association's put a lot of money into the building, maintaining it, and you know, we just think it's time to raise the budget to try to do more, because it's, I don't want to say degrading, but it's, you know, it's getting older and it needs a lot more work than something newer. So and that's why we decided to raise that, try to get some of the things done that really need to be done to make it safe to be in. So one of the big problems we have right now is the ceiling. I'm not sure what we're going to do with the ceiling. Ceiling's coming down. So, and we talked about going in and maybe having it restrapped and re-sheetrocked, and just a ton of work because there's so much stuff hanging off the ceiling. all the heating systems, all the air
Right.
systems, the lights. One of the things we have been trying to do is put in some more LED lighting. So try to help that, the energy part of it a little bit. So, I mean, we're picking away at things we can accomplish pretty reasonable.
So I have a question, and this just may be, first year question.
Right
Right
away.
So I take a look at the capital plan,
Yep.
and I see, there's savings starting, looks like next year, 100,000, 100,000, 100,000 for engine 3.
Yeah.
Are any of the, so my first question is, are any of the vehicles on sort of a turnaround cycle? Like, the police department says, all right,
Yeah.
I'm going to own a car for so long, and they save along the way. And same with some of the facility, the building replacements, like there's no
So
savings
on the
on that.
vehicle, right, so on the vehicles, so it's gonna be 4 years ago, we looked at a plan to try to level out the cost of buying vehicles. It's not gonna be any cheaper, but we looked at, and the vehicles, the system of replacement, 3 is the next one up, which hopefully we can do something sooner. But at 98,000, just $99,000, let's call it. We called it 100 here just for round numbers. For 18 years, vehicle replacement would be $100,000 a year, each year. And that would replace all the trucks. We would buy a Quint, which is a ladder truck. So what would happen now is, so our newest truck is being paid off in this one we're talking about, right there.
Engine 1.
Yeah, engine 1 gets paid off, then we'd move on to engine 3 for 3 years, which it won't be that much, but it's close enough for budget reasons. After that, we would move on to the Quint, which replaces an engine, our engine 2 that we have now, for 10 years. They're about $1 million, a Quint is. So for 10 years, $100,000 a year. So that's going to take us out about, in total, about 18 years, and would have basically kept that vehicle cost, vehicle replacement level for 18 years, barring any major
So it looks like
disasters.
you save the money for the next one to be replaced, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah,
go to the next one and go to the next
Right.
one.
Yeah.
But you were hoping you were saying,
Yeah.
we've got the 3 years for engine 3, but probably not
Right.
look to buy it
Right.
on the
We
4th
should, right.
year, maybe get it earlier.
Yeah, we're gonna
And but the payments would be the same,
Right.
basically.
Yeah, there's some value to engine 3, the sooner we could sell it, we could actually use that for an earlier year's payment, so that we could get the truck sooner. Whether it's a purchase or a lease like we're doing with engine 1, that actually is our primary truck for all the hills. It's 4-wheel drive, and it's also the backup EMS truck. So if in rescue is, Med 100 is not available because it's on a call, that's the next one to go, because it has not matching equipment, but has more basic equipment than any of the other trucks. And, sometimes it becomes a primary, like yesterday when Med 100 was out getting brakes done, it was the primary truck. And then we use it this kind of weather. We will send that truck and hold the other trucks to car accidents and stuff, because it is 4-wheel drive, and, it's bad weather, trying not to expose the other vehicles. Not just so much the road conditions, but all the salt and everything that goes with it, and chances of getting run into or run off the road. And so, it's a key truck. It really is a key truck for
That's
us.
the Med 100?
No, engine 3.
Engine.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah, engine 3, 4-wheel drive.
Just the Med 100.
So yeah, it's like basically 100,000. If you go back even last year, it was 98.
Right.
98.
Yeah.
So it's 100,000 a year across all vehicles, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, when we started, it was 4 years ago when we started that plan, and we looked at the vehicle ages, and it's in this, in our capital written plan. So it really keeps that one thing level for
Yeah.
a long time.
And what about the heating and the facility?
Right,
You know,
yeah.
with the issues that are going on, just to have that to, I know it's a topic, but
It's
you know what I
all-
mean?
no, it's
Just
all
to
fit-
keep it
ours
going.
is, right, ours is done, very simple system. Works very well. We don't have any problems with it. It is an NTI boiler, which is
It's
like.
a fairly newer one,
it's
right? Yeah. It's
3 years old now, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
It's an NTI boiler, just like is over at the police station.
Mm-hmm.
But, and we have a thermostat.
It works.
It has a very plain thermostat that has a cover on it that locks, so when we set it, it stays there and it runs, so. What else can I tell you about it?
So for your station repair, the things that you're wanting to do,
Right.
are they, I mean, thinking about the impact fee ordinance, are they eligible for the impact fees? Is that something that we could apply?
I would say yes, and the only reason why I would say that, because we use the impact fees for the boiler.
Uh-huh.
So to be able to maintain the building, I
So
mean,
we can take a look at that and
Right,
see,
yeah,
because
yeah.
you
And
do
it-
have
Yeah.
some
Yep.
impact fee balance.
I mean, and you know, another thing here, I'll speak for the chief and his comrade, that, you know, at some point, they're looking for a building with the ladder truck. We're kind of kicking it down the
Right.
road a little bit.
right, it's really based on development. I mean, that's the bottom line to it. It's based on development, you know, depending upon what happens with building heights. Anything over what we've got, we can't protect. So, you know,
That's
that's
where
where
the
we're
ladder
at.
truck, the Quint comes
Yeah,
in.
yeah, and basically, it's the same truck as engine one, just has a hydraulic ladder on it. So it does the same things as engine one, but just has the ladder, so,
So, I mean, I think it's,
yeah.
you know, okay for us to sort of wait and see what happens, you know, that potentially, we expect the development will happen over time.
Yeah.
Probably will take longer than everyone likes, but it's possible the economy could crash and all of a sudden development just sort of stops,
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
So I think, you know, this is a sort of year-to-year thing. You look at it and say, where are we? Once they start laying bricks,
Right, yep,
then we better have an action plan, whatever that is.
yep. Yeah, and really, you know, we're fortunate, I think, that, you know, once that really is on the table, we'll have the impact fees that'll help considerable to offset the cost of the building, really. You know, if we don't see a lot of building, you know, can we survive where we are crowdedly? Yes. With, you know, with obviously a lot of work, but, you know, but once the building starts, you know, the good thing is the impact fees come with it and will help offset a lot of the cost. So, well, offset all of it, but
Right, some of it.
it'll,
I
some
wouldn't,
of
I
it.
don't know, a lot, but some.
Right, yeah.
All right, is there any other, so you can see, I mean, this is a pretty good increase, 50, you know, a good portion of it. Some of it is, like we say, some repairs for the building, repairs for the anticipated maintenance, which may or may not happen, but certainly most of it will happen. And then the increased, you know, workload and more materials and stuff for the call numbers. And then you've got this added full-time person. This line doesn't include the benefits. The benefits will
Right.
be rolled into another section.
Just
So-
like all the other benefits,
Yeah.
there's a separate line for everyone's health benefits and.
So I think we haven't fully defined how this role is, but they would answer to the chief, but the policies and stuff would be coming out of the town, you know, town hall policies, employee policy, things, and would be under Renee in the same way everybody else is.
And a minimum requirement would be that they have certification up to the AEMT level,
Okay.
just so that
Yeah.
we have full-time day coverage with someone that has the, you know, appropriate certifications and.
So when we looked at the highway, Tom pointed out that the phone bill was high, and I see yours is high too. I'm just curious, why is it?
Phone bill?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so we have have our primary line. We have a second line for that. We have a fax line. We have a line that runs our fire alarm system. And we have a line which is the 7-digit emergency number, which we carry, which will ring direct to Shelburne. It's not 911, it's 482 number. So that's
Okay,
pretty much the
makes sense.
technology. I get them all, fax machine, yeah.
You have a fax, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
What comes
All our reports come from Shelburne by
by
fax.
fax?
Yep,
Why?
all the record keeping, yep, because we have to have
Seriously?
paper copies on everything, so.
You can't just email it and print it?
Well, you're gonna print it either, yeah, I mean, so it might actually save time if it just rolls off.
Right,
Not
well,
anybody
it's,
uses faxes
yeah.
anymore.
I had to send one today, it took me 3
Some
times.
places.
And I just sent it to the state. They said,
Well,
can you
actually,
fax it?
so,
I said, I'd
right.
like to email it. Oh, well, we have a fax.
actually, one of
past,
those,
that's
one
why
of
it
those
took.
things, one of the things is actually we had to put that line in because we can't take 911 patient information any other
Oh,
way.
that makes sense, direct, yeah.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yep, so,
I remember when they came out, I was so excited. I'm like, this saves so much time. Just stick it in.
and it takes some time
done.
to get them to us too sometimes, but,
All right.
yep.
So anything else? Any other questions?
Said that about movable type.
The station repair, it'd be
Yeah.
helpful for me if there was a little narrative of
Oh, I
what
can,
exactly needs to
I
be.
can show
Yeah.
you. I can
So you
ask-
said you have a report?
I'll get you
or-
Polly's, yeah, I can
Yeah.
send you Polly's.
Polly's the
estimate.
local, like, yeah.
Instruction.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that was actually the only one, we tried a lot of people to get them to come in and didn't want nothing to do with
Yeah.
it. So, yeah. But yeah, I'll get that sent to you.
They've got plenty of time. They're just making brochures, and,
Right.
but then they're waiting to get
Oh
caught.
my gosh. Get those all the
It's a
time.
lot of work. I mean, there's a lot of,
Yeah.
A lot of marketing.
yep. Nothing else?
Did you have a question, Tom? Did you?
I just
Nothing
asked
else?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll get it sent to you. Dave's got it, so I'll get it from him.
Just
Or you
occurred to
just
me-
send it to Renee. and
Yep.
we- Yeah.
Get it out
Just
to you.
occurred to me, a use for a ladder truck, to have the angle to replace our siding in town hall.
Yep. Every time you need to change your street.
Is that a mutual aid worthy call?
Probably not.
If you went there and were hanging on,
There we go. There's a woman
Get yourself
dangling
up
from
there
the
somehow. We
side.
can
get the cat to go
Probably
up
get you-
there.
Right.
Cat up there.
I'll work on that.
We don't do cats. Do you
Alright.
want me to stay around for the ambulance part?
No,
of
I
it, or
think we'll.
You know
yeah.
where you're at with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Feel free to grab a slice of pizza if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you think of anything else, just email me.
All right.
We'll fax you.
Well, fax,
Yeah.
yes.
You're not a fax.
See you later.
Thanks.
All right.
What are we doing here?
Let's keep going. Cemetery? So that was flat, you said,
That was
right?
flat, so no changes from last year, so I had told Mary Jo that she didn't need to come. If you guys have questions and things, that we could bring her back in January if there was something that,
You know what I would love to see with the cemeteries is, I don't know what the cost would be, but a sign. It doesn't have to be that particularly fancy, but something identifying each cemetery.
Yeah.
You know, like, a post with a
name and
name
yeah.
on it,
yeah,
It doesn't have to be that fancy. I mean, it could be as fancy as we want to spend the money on it, I guess.
right.
Like a name and year kind of thing.
But yeah, something. Just just a
Give
sign.
that feedback.
Yep. Yeah, I don't need to micromanage what the sign looks like or how
Yep.
big it is, but just a sign.
Just a sign that
Yeah.
acknowledges what the name is.
Let the cemetery commissioners come up with the idea.
Yep,
I'll support whatever they like.
All right.
that's a good idea.
Next is, we just saved 5 minutes. 15, actually. Iroquois Recreational District, was it like 3,000?
Yeah, it's
Wow.
3,000, so
Yeah.
last year, the current year is 2,900, and so they're saying 3,000, try all of their towns to put that towards the additional maintenance cost of the road and beach, the milfoil checks and all the things that they're doing.
It's good to hear that they're, coordinating more together with the Lake Iroquois
They
Water-
are, yes.
Yeah, whatever they're
They-
called.
Lake Iroquois Association.
Association,
Yep.
so. That seems pretty straightforward for what the town gets.
Yep.
It is a recreational district, although I guess they don't have any ability to actually tax anyone. They have to ask each town
Right.
for a donation.
Yep.
All right. Everybody good with that?
Mm-hmm.
January budget schedule.
All right, so now that we've gotten a chance to review all of the budgets, now you guys are going to be thinking about what ones we want to take a closer look at. Are there some things that, as we're looking at trying to decrease that 8.13% increase in expenditures, or what are those department budgets that you're looking at? Because I'm going to ask those department heads to come back in January when you review those or discuss those items, so that they can, again, answer questions, advocate for what it is, or maybe come to a, say, yes, no, that makes sense. We could certainly, here's something that we could adjust.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important at our next meeting, or even before that, like, I can, I'll just sort of say that, like, I'm feeling like the added person for the fire department feels like it's time for that. And then, the added person in the highway department, I'm not quite sure it's as, it can justify it, but
Or even
as,
if we do justify it, if it's going to be fillable.
well, and so maybe we hold off on that.
Oh.
And see, I'd like to see some efficiency from the, buildings, the new building we have, and being able to maintain the trucks better and all that. And then I'd also think, just on that, sort of saying maybe that next person that's there is a mechanic and can not only take care of their stuff, because Mike's, I think, the one who takes care of most of the trucks. He's not going to be there forever. So maybe it is time to have somebody who's more of the mechanic and maintains all the stuff, and could also possibly do other town trucks. Even if it's just the basic maintenance.
And that's
So, it's just a thought.
That's also a department that I want to, closely look at what the other towns are paying in those similar positions to see where we're falling in that. So maybe there's some adjustments that we could be making
Yeah.
to make ourselves look a little more competitive to draw people
Right.
in.
And so maybe instead of adding a fifth person, you look at that pay grade in the same way we've done it with the police department and bump it just a little bit so everybody stays and we're able to attract, into that fourth position. So, those are the kind of things that we all need to sort of bring to the table, and so we can get right to the ones that, we want to consider. I think we're at 8. That's a lot.
And that
So-
includes the healthcare. Yep.
Right now, yeah,
Across the
so
board.
depending on what number of additional employees we add, then I have to look back and make sure we're reflecting that in there. So I think there'll be a little bit of increase depending on what decisions are made. So I have the calendar pulled up for January.
Yeah, that's what I was going after here.
The first meeting in January is January 1st, so unless you guys would like to meet on New Year's Day, I think we'll opt
Unavailable.
to go to January 8th. So I sent VCAM a tentative schedule for January 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th, and
So
which
I
is
have on my-
typical,
I have that on
standard.
my calendar
We
already.
meet weekly in January
Yeah,
to do
every day.
all of our budget meetings. Because there's a conflict with the Planning Commission, we'll have, so this one is scheduled for the main hall on January 8th because it's a Planning Commission meeting night. The January 15th one can be here. The January 22nd one will also be scheduled in the main hall. And then the January 29th one would be here on the first floor conference room. The Planning Commission is, I guess, looking at, I think, what did they say, the January, it was the January 22nd meeting as holding a potential date for holding a public hearing for the allocation committee. I mean, what they have come up with
Would
in
we
terms of-
also do the,
That's when we do the capital budget public hearing as well.
and I'm also thinking about the, what we just went through with the last meeting we had a hearing on, because we have to have another hearing on that.
Yeah, we have to have, so we have to
Oh,
think
yeah.
about when we want to schedule
Whatever
that
that's
as
called.
well.
Yeah.
So we either, it's a January or it's a February.
Maybe we could do that the first one in February.
Or-
I got a
or-
feeling it's going to be pretty. I don't expect a lot of issues now that
Well,
we've
I was just thinking, do all of those hearings on the same day, the 22nd, or no?
of
Well,
January. That's going to be the last
22nd, we really
budget
want to
day.
make sure, I mean, depending on
Yeah.
where we're at in the budget, I'd
So we
hate
need
to,
to give
because you
ourselves
have
in
to
case.
schedule,
Yeah.
you know, you have to do those,
Yeah,
warn
yeah,
those
yeah.
public hearings ahead of time. I'd
Yeah.
hate to block off
So
time.
if we
but
look, if we
Got it.
look, by that third week in January, we got to be really finalizing the warnings. And then I'm not sure which day needs to, there's a day where it has to be done and signed
Yeah.
to be in time. So,
And at some point, we need to talk about the ambulance in a public hearing.
yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that's January.
Yeah, that'd be like the first week in January.
So we've got the 8th, the 5th, so all the weeks of, except for the 1st.
8th,
Yes.
January, and then
15th,
the 5th of
22nd, and the
February.
29th. Maybe you could check the schedule to see if, like, on the 29th, we can be signing the warning. It's not too late.
Yeah, I will check because the
Yeah.
town meeting's a little earlier this year, so I'll just double check
Yeah.
and make sure where we're at.
Because if not, we might need to move the meeting,
Right.
that last meeting, closer.
Town
By
meeting.
then, hopefully, we're just finalizing, that the warning,
Right.
we'll have said, oh, we're going to change the wording a little bit and whatnot on
Right.
on the 22nd.
Yep.
Town meeting being March 2nd, is that true?
It's, is that Monday?
Yeah, the
Yep.
first Monday.
Yep.
So is everybody good for those 4 Wednesdays? I may, I think I'm going to be around. If I wasn't going to be, I would certainly be available, but I expect I'll be here.
And if for some reason the 29th is past the deadline we need, is there another day in that either the Monday or Tuesday that works for folks?
Yeah, I think Monday would probably work for me. Although it could be either, but let's find out what the
Yes,
deadline
yep,
is, because it
absolutely.
might have to be Monday and,
Right.
and Tuesday's not
Yep.
available. Is that sounding all right with everybody?
I have it on my calendar already, yeah.
So we do have a couple of things besides the budget, which is the critical thing, and deciding on the warnings. You probably dust off the old one.
Yeah, yep.
I think one year we did that, and it was actually didn't get changed or something. But
Yes.
and then we have the public meeting for the zoning and town map. But that, we may be able to do that first week in February.
February, yeah.
Yes.
And so I'll try, I should volunteer to do something. I'll try to write up like a little paragraph of what I'm thinking
Oh, that's a good idea.
and share that with everybody. And that way you can say, oh, I'm thinking the same, or I'm thinking this, or no, we should increase this. But I'm quite honestly looking at 8% and getting the heebie-jeebies, so I'm gonna, say, where do I think we can, and I have to go back and look at the things we've already done too. Tonight there were some big ones, but we did some other budgets too.
And I kind of look at it, not so much with our department heads, I think they do a good job, but the first go-around is more or less a wish list.
Yeah.
I mean, I do feel differently this year, though, that some of the increases are rather massive. So I'm feeling the need to really look at it and pare things back.
Yeah, so I had a department head meeting today, went through this budget, so had it on the projector, and so they know that this is gonna be a challenging year. They know what the bottom line is right now. And I also said that I would, assured them that if I get a sense that whatever budget they're looking at, I will make sure that a department head is present at the meeting when you guys discuss it in January.
Yeah.
So that they're part of the conversation.
Yeah. I think the other thing, we've got the overall pay increase too to talk about. It might be nice to have, I think it would be fairly simple just to sort of say, oh, no, if it was 2%, what is it, or 3%?
Yep.
What is
That's
it?
what I was
What does a
thinking.
half a percent do?
I can do.
Is it $5,000 or is it,
So over between now and January, I'll be working on things like that, and I will, show you examples of it, increase across the board salary adjustments, if it's 3%, if it's 2.7, 2 point, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'd probably do like 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5.
Yeah. Just to see.
Yeah, just like half percent, so we can figure.
I think
extrapolate.
since I've been on the board, it's been 3% every year,
Yeah,
which is pretty,
guaranteed.
pretty good because it does compound. I think it'd be good, and I'm happy to do it, take a look at what the cost of living is, the latest numbers.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, we gotta, I think we could add on that, so 3% every year, I'm not,
You're just talking.
yeah, I'm just talking, right, is you gotta add on how much percentage salary increase is going with the benefits. So, the last couple of years, people haven't had to pay more for their health benefits, but the town has, so in fact, that's a pay raise. Where I work, we haven't increased the benefit amount. You get a certain amount, but the health care's going up, so it's, we're doing, it's, so here, it's really if we look last year, healthcare went up 7%, 8%, and healthcare's 15% of salary.
Yeah, it's, I have to look at it.
So
That's
let's,
right now.
so
Yeah.
if it's 15% and it went up 7% and the town absorbed that, that's almost a percent.
It was 9% where I work.
Yeah,
So I mean,
that's almost
it's really variable.
a percent of your pay. So, anyways, well, that'll be something we look at. We'll
Yeah.
look at you giving us some information and.
Yes.
The point you're making though is it's
yeah.
more than just the 3%. It's-
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If we're not asking, and that's fine, we're not asking to pay more for benefits, and the benefit cost is going up. Certainly healthcare continues to go up. It's probably gone up 30% in the last 5 years.
So the process we've been doing is so we go through this same cycle of you just reviewing all the initial budgets, and then after this meeting is when I start going through it, and I will bring you sort of a la carte options of some things that you can be looking at and what those dollar figures are, and then you can kind of choose from that. And I'll, continue to fine tune the budget. Maybe there'll be some other areas that I can see of some savings that I can be making too.
Yeah,
in the
I
meantime.
trust you would do that. And also on the revenue side.
Yeah, I
We'll
did the
get-
revenue side, but I'll be double checking on
Okay.
that too. Yep, so the revenues
So
are
that
all
was
put
in
in
there,
there.
yeah?
Yep, they were all in there tonight.
And so with that, we're at about 8.
It's about,
With everything,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, so the revenue doesn't affect what the overall expenditures are. It just,
Right.
it impacts what
Tax
the
rate.
tax rate, yeah, and so then you factor in, so I'm using I have the grand list from the 411 form, but then when we met and we had the errors and omissions, I'm gonna do what I
Adjust
did
it.
last year, and I'll adjust it accordingly, and so use that as a base. And then I'm still waiting to get feedback from Lisa as far as where we're at, as far, the number of new homes and things like that. Is it, what percentage do I add to that grand list as a projected figure? So. And
Okay.
waiting to get the fund balance as of June 30th too, so I
And
know
you
what
think
we have to
it
work
should
with.
be okay?
I think it should be okay, yeah, so, we'll see.
Any other questions?
Kind of what we do. So you'll also find out what the date is for drop dead date
Yeah.
for signing,
Yes.
you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
For the the warning.
So I'll put my select board in there. Oops. I'm sweating my note. All right. The next item is the commission, board and committee appointments, and we have a great little spreadsheet in our packet.
It's a very helpful spreadsheet.
Yeah, in fact, it would be nice to have this. It isn't on the website in this manner,
Not
is
in
it?
that manner, but
Yeah.
it made me think about having it
Yeah,
like
it would
this
be
as
nice.
opposed to having to go to every page. If it's easier for you, Phil, I can make a motion to reappoint everybody in green on this sheet, assuming, I assume, Joy, you reached out to all the people in green and they've all said yes? Is that how that works?
Waiting to hear back from.
Or you will have, I should
Well,
say.
yeah, there's two people I'm waiting to hear back from.
And I think
One
in-
is pretty sound, the other, since I have heard nothing, I'm not sure, I can't say they're sound or not sound.
So I think we did this, correct me if I'm wrong, in the past, last year, we just appointed them, and if
Yes.
they didn't want to be appointed,
Yes.
they just resigned.
Right. Yep.
But it doesn't stop us from moving forward tonight. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
it's pretty straightforward.
So I can make that motion unless you need me to read every one.
No, we've
Yeah.
just approved it based as
Yeah,
presented.
so I make a motion to reappoint everybody in green on this list and the open seats, every open seat in yellow, to the noted committee, commission, or board for the terms ending as
As
stated.
noted,
Yeah, as
yeah.
noted.
So, just a real quick one.
And it's in our meeting packet for
Well,
anybody
we'll
to
get
review.
a second, then we can have a discussion.
Okay.
If that's possible.
Yep, so, and for reference, it's in our meeting packet on the
All right.
web.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Recreation Commission, Henry Moreno, he's in yellow. I want to mark that green based on what we just
Yep.
made
You're
a
right,
motion
thank
for.
you. Yep.
And why is there a question mark after Bob Hyams?
Waiting to hear his just actual final decision.
I see.
He said, just saw him, I should have twisted his arm. Just another, comment. Obviously, pretty much everybody who wants to, we appoint. I don't know that we've ever not appointed somebody unless there was more than one. But, I mean, if we knew of any issues, or, a chair of a committee said this person's not working out or whatever, we would take that under consideration. And in this case, I don't think there is anybody who we know of any issues, and everybody's willing to work hard, and so,
And is.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, people get reappointed, and unless there was, a number of people asking for that, then we would take that under consideration. We have a policy, too, on
We do.
this that
Yep.
sort of talks
Yep,
about
it's on
that,
the
so,
website.
yep.
So I have one more question. There's no village steering committee. I know we've talked about, is it still a committee or?
There were no reappointments.
Oh, there's no reappointments. That's why they're not on there?
Correct.
Okay.
But
that
they're
makes
open
sense.
seats. But maybe the open seats aren't
Yes,
reappoint as well.
since there were no reappointments, I could add it if you would like.
It
but
might be good to have on
I
one
can add it
page.
to this.
Yeah.
That's sure.
Joy, can you, could you create, once we're done, could you create this sheet without the highlights, and I can just post it as as is, like Phil's suggestion?
Sure.
Yep. Whenever,
Yeah, no,
whatever
no.
kind of priority you want to make
Maybe
it.
after Bob decides. and-
Yeah, whatever, whenever.
And we'll also, I would assume then put,
And then just have village steering committee and have all of the,
and put Colin Hunt, who
yep.
Was
you
just
appointed to the
yeah.
Trails Committee this evening.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
fairly new still.
Yeah.
So I don't want to open a Pandora's box here, but I would be remiss not to. So, Tom, you made the comment last meeting about the planning commission, some concerns about conflicts of interest and things along those lines. That technically would be against the policy, so I don't know if that's something that needs to get looked into. You know what I mean? So, just raising it.
Yeah.
Like I said, don't want to open a Pandora's box, but I just wanted
Well,
to.
if you hadn't, I
you
was
know.
going to, because I do.
Okay.
I did take issue with several members of, in this case, the planning commission. It's been other commissions in the past, but I think we need to at least raise that question with them. I believe that they did talk about it amongst themselves and made the choice not to recuse themselves, which I don't think was right. So I think we should talk to them about it.
Yep.
So my motion as it stands is to reappoint everybody on the sheet. Do you want to make an amendment to exclude a committee or a candidate?
Based on what I can see here, I would say there's at least one member of the planning commission. Everything else, I believe, to my knowledge, is okay. The other committees no longer have the members from years ago, but I think it's a conversation we need to have.
Yeah, I'm not sure I feel comfortable, making that decision one way or another today. I mean, I think it's a conversation.
No, but we could exclude reappointing tonight, have the conversation, and then reappoint or not reappoint at a future meeting.
I think you could reappoint, and then if it was found to be true what Tom's saying, I think that's grounds for, based on the policies we have in place that everybody signed.
Yeah, and that's the question. Do we go through the policies or do we just not reappoint?
Well, I think we should follow the policy.
Well, certainly.
Yeah.
But only if we've reappointed. But if we don't reappoint, there is no policy to follow because that person hasn't been reappointed. Is my point. Which direction do we want to take as a
I think
board?
we got to be really clear. If we're not going to appoint somebody, they need to be able to defend themselves.
Right.
I don't know who we're talking about.
Oh, sure, yeah,
and talk with
absolutely.
the commission and talk with the chair and everything else. So,
So are we being hasty in reappointing is my
well,
question.
I don't know. I mean, I don't have the issue, but if Tom has an issue, then maybe we hold off.
And I'm only looking at you in terms of like procedure. I'm not
Yeah.
looking for decision.
Yeah, so we have the motion.
Correct? And the second.
Yeah, but now we're having some discussion.
Mhm.
So, I think, I guess if any member feels like we shouldn't because there's concerns, then bring that up and we won't vote and we'll.
Well, I could make an amendment to exclude the planning commission reappointments.
Okay.
Well,
We actually have, by they're a statutory board,
Yeah.
so, we
But they don't have to
can't.
be reappointed tonight.
Right, but we have, for their January meetings, they have to have at least a quorum of people that have been.
And
So
they'll meet
there's,
before we do.
there's 3 of them.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess they would, assuming all of the remaining 5 are
5, yeah.
there at the meeting.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem reappointing James. The other two.
I'm uncomfortable sort of having this discussion.
Right.
And,
Names.
Without
Yeah.
people being here.
Yeah.
I understand,
Yeah.
but this is what we were thrown, this is what was put in front of us tonight, so.
Yeah.
it's
But
a
this isn't about the individuals. This is about how we want to maneuver procedure.
I don't want to maneuver procedure.
Okay?
We're either going to appoint tonight or we're not.
And Tom.
And then if we want to follow up on
And
an
Thomas'
issue-
suggestion, he does want to maneuver procedure. I heard him just say he wanted to make an amendment.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's your call, you're
Yeah,
chair.
no, well,
I'd
no,
like
what's
to
your
reappoint
amendment?
everybody except for a certain, if it's easier to do one whole committee, then we can exclude that one committee and appoint all the rest.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
So you're thinking you want to...
We can make 2 motions.
Well...
One motion for.
We've got a motion. You want like to make an amendment that says appoint all of them except the planning commission. Is that what I'm hearing?
Point of order here. Who made the original motion?
Me.
Aaron?
I didn't think that another person could make an amendment to somebody else's motion. Am I incorrect in that?
Well, I think you can.
I believe so.
I thought that the only person that could make an amendment to the motion is
Would
the
be the person
person
who.
that had made the motion.
So here's what we can do, is I'm not saying I'm going to just yet, but I could rescind my motion. Since I made it, I could take it back, and then we could start
I'm
over.
not an expert, but it's with my understanding that you would have to make an amendment or rescind.
I thought we could, and the amendment gets voted on, and then the
Yes.
original motion gets
Right,
voted
so
on.
we're gonna move on, yeah, not saying you're wrong, but, so we got an
Whatever way we want to do it.
amendment that says, everyone exclude the planning commission. Right, so is there a second to that?
I can make that second, and then, if need be, we can then make a second motion just to appoint a person or
Okay,
two people
so-
or something like that to the
So
planning
that's the
commission.
amendment that says, do we exclude the planning commission?
So we're talking about.
Discussion on that?
I'm not at all comfortable with that. I would be comfortable with just approving everybody across the board and asking the planning commission, all three people that have been reappointed, to come and have a chat with us. It just feels like making harsh judgments on not very solid evidence, and without the person who you're thinking of, and I'm not quite sure who you are thinking of, being here to give their side of the story.
Yeah, I kind of, I heard your complaint, and that's a policy thing, so that's why I put it back out there, because I just want everything to be transparent and go by the way the book says it should. Since we don't know the names, it's kind of like it's the planning commission as a whole, and whoever.
So keep in mind that Tom is doing it this way, so there is no policy that we need to talk about. We're either appointing somebody or we're not. We're not talking about going through any conflict of interest or reviewing somebody's performance or affiliations. Tom is just merely saying, I don't want to appoint these people.
So.
And the reason he doesn't want to appoint these people, and he's able to say that, is because their term is done.
Well, but we have a policy that says if people want to run again and there's nobody else bumping into their seat, unless we know of an issue, they get automatically
I don't know if that's a
reappointed.
policy as much as a practice.
No, that's a written policy we
So if
have.
there's a problem with conflict of interest.
But anyways, so what are you thinking?
No, so I the way that I agree is the fact that I hear what Tom's saying, and if that's the way he feels, that should be addressed, right? But to just not appoint somebody because we feel whatever, I don't think they're not here to defend themselves or not. So that's why I think it's probably better to do the policy, you get the evidence or whatever, and you make a decision. I don't know. Just to say, no, I'm not gonna, and these two people, I'm just not gonna approve them without any.
But I don't. I think that any one of us could have an opinion about whether or not we had a person in front of us tonight. It could have been a 3-2 vote against.
Sure.
We don't have to have any sort of review of who they are. It can just be, no, I don't want them.
Well,
Right? Am I correct?
I don't know.
In my
suppose.
opinion, if
I
the
don't know.
issue is conflict of interest, I think it would be very valuable to have that be out in the open and to have a discussion. And because everybody needs to be aware of that if they're on a committee.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be that people just haven't really thought about this policy. So I think it would be really, really valuable to have a discussion with the people that you think have conflict of interest and not try to avoid the policy.
And we do have a conflict of interest policy.
Yeah. It's on the screen right
Oh.
now. I don't know where you start from the top.
Imagine that.
I don't even remember because she made you sign it.
So, and I'll speak now. I'm a little uncomfortable too, and I think if there is an issue, which is fine, then we should work on that issue, and have it come up now while we're trying to do this. Just doesn't seem fair. We should have said, hey, we want to review this.
Well, I guess that's fair, but
That's what we're doing. We're reviewing
we're
this.
reviewing it, and I have questions for some of these people as to why they didn't recuse themselves from certain conversations.
I think you brought up the point at the meeting that we had when we had the public hearing.
I did.
So you did address it at the public hearing.
And as I understand it, it was addressed during their commission hearings, and they chose not to recuse, and I want to know why they chose not to recuse. Because if we're putting people in these positions, we found out over the past 5-6 years that they really matter. And you need to make sure that if you're on these commissions, you're working on behalf of the town as a whole and not certain groups or ideals. And I want to make sure that that's happening.
You know, I mean, I think that's a conversation, I mean, we could certainly bring in, used to do sort of a mission statement review with boards and committees and bring them in and kind of talk about it. You know, perhaps that's something that you could do. You know, the problem is you can't bring in the whole planning commission. You'd have to only bring in less than a quorum.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, you know, just, you know, to kind of discuss that, and that can be a discussion across the board. I mean, with other boards and
I mean, I
committees
think
too.
we could bring in everybody if it's a training or it's a review of this. They're not taking action on planning commission items. But if you look at the conflict of interest, I thought
Old, isn't it?
Yeah.
it sort of talked about, you know,
When
a benefit,
When I went to
personal benefit.
When I went to a state workshop on conflict of interest in Montpelier, they said in the end, it's the individual who has to decide whether it's conflict of interest, but that individual needs to be very aware of the appearance
Yeah,
of
it's
conflict of
perceived-
interest.
A perceived
Yes.
conflict can be.
Yep, which can be just as bad as conflict of interest. So I think it would be very
Personal
valuable
or
to have a
financial
discussion.
interest.
What's that?
And the first line there is that direct or indirect personnel or financial interest. Or somebody they're associated with. So, I mean, you can, you know, you can read a lot into that, so that's not gonna answer the question. So we now have, the amendment,
Yep, so the motion,
to the thing to do everything but the planning commission.
correct, that's the motion. And then if this passes.
Do we wanna vote on that?
If this passes, then we could go back and revisit then we can vote individually on planning commission members.
Yep, we could.
We could.
So, that's the motion. The amendment is to exclude all the planning commission from that original motion.
There was, I seconded.
Yeah,
So it's approving all the people in green.
excluding the planning commission.
Excluding the planning commission.
Yeah,
Yep. And also approving the vacancy
Yeah.
terms,
yeah.
the open seats.
So does everybody understand what it is? So all those in favor of the amendment say aye.
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 All those opposed say no?
No.
No.
Okay.
So then, so now the motion's changed to exclude the planning commission. That's on the table.
Correct.
Any more discussion on that motion?
So what's this next amendment?
So
It's
now-
not, it's the motion
the
to
motion
approve
now.
everybody, but now we've taken out the planning commission.
Oh,
Yep.
Any discussion on that?
So,
what happens to those folks come January 1?
But we can decide that right after we
Yeah.
have this vote on this,
Well,
on the motion
it-
on the table.
After this motion, they're not appointed unless something else happens.
Like,
If
you
this
could
motion
make a
passes.
motion to appoint everybody on the planning commission as stated. You could make that motion after we finish this, immediately.
You just approved an amendment to take them off the vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I just realized it's January 1st, and what happens to those folks, and then what is that, you know?
So they have an open seat, so there's only 8 that are filled currently. It's a 9-member commission.
And I think they need more than
And
3
so
to
if-
have a quorum, right?
So to have a quorum,
They would need
it's
4, I
based
think.
on, it's based on what the total membership is.
Not this
So
total seat count?
I
forget.
I think
thought it
it's
was
the
more than-
total membership.
total membership.
Yeah, it's the total
Yeah.
membership, so it should be
Yeah.
5.
Yeah, I think you're right.
There would need to be 5 to be a quorum.
So the motion is to approve
There are
all of
5,
the
just-
other members as we identified, except for the planning commission.
And didn't we just vote on that?
No.
No.
We voted
We
to
voted
get
to
here.
take the
Yes.
planning commission
Oh.
out of that
Okay.
vote.
Okay.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed of appointing everybody but the planning commission, say no.
No. And I'm sorry, I know I'm flip-flopping, but I didn't realize it the first time around. Apologies.
So there-
Mary Lee?
I'm just so uncomfortable with this way of doing it that I'm either going to say no or I'm going to abstain. I can't support it.
Can I
So
add
you
one more
want to say- go ahead.
bit? The first meeting of the planning commission in January is the same as our first meeting of the select board, January 8th.
Basically, all,
So there's 3 votes that voted yes. So everybody's appointed except the planning commission.
Are you abstaining, Melanie, or?
I'll abstain, yes.
So at this point, I would make a motion to appoint James Donegan to the planning commission, or reappoint James Donegan to the planning commission.
I'll second.
All right, I'm not going to go through and name people one at a time. I think if this was an issue, which I can understand it can be, it should have been taken care of, not at this point.
This really
It does,
feels like a witch
people
hunt.
haven't had a chance to
It's not a
talk
witch
about
hunt,
it.
Marilee. I brought it up at the last meeting.
I know, but we should have
Yeah.
had a chance to talk to
Well,
other
maybe we
people.
should have, but,
That's what
you
I
know,
mean.
this is what
This is
we
where
were
it came
given
up.
tonight. And
I
I've brought
understand
these
that.
issues up in the past.
Yeah, and I wish we had
And,
paid more attention then.
You know, people could take the hint that maybe they should do the right thing and recuse themselves from certain conversations so that we don't
But
reach this
that-
point.
but that's your opinion.
It is my opinion,
Right.
but we need to
So that's
address
just
it.
your opinion, right.
So is it
I'm
possible?
not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just saying
Right,
that's
that's
your
fair.
opinion.
So
And
I-
the planning commission runs their meetings, and if they had their discussion, I'm not there, but if they had the discussion, and if people there thought they're not doing it right, or the chair said, we shouldn't have done this right, I would hope they would bring it to us.
Right, so I don't,
Unless they're all in cahoots, but I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
so I'm really not comfortable with naming names. Can you make it can we make it one just to say, we need, Maggie, the chair and some other folks to come in and have that conversation versus picking off people off a name just in general?
So the conversation is going to be in a public, where the
Either way,
names are
it's
going
gonna
to
be
come,
in a
yeah.
public forum.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I'm just saying, rather than sitting here tonight and
Right.
picking through names when they haven't even had a chance to say anything, for me, maybe we have the right to do that. I just think it's better to give a chance to have that
Yeah.
conversation before we start naming people and.
Yeah, I think, whatever you do, I think you should have the people that that are being discussed there so that they're,
Right.
able to speak to it and the conversation occurs.
And that's how I'm feeling. Did you make a motion? I wasn't sure.
Yes, and Aaron
I did, I
seconded, so there
I
is a
can
motion.
withdraw it if people are
What was the
uncomfortable.
motion?
To reappoint James Donegan
Oh,
to the
okay,
planning
right,
commission for a
and you
term.
seconded, okay.
I mean, I'm concerned that they don't have a quorum.
And I say that's for that reason, so now they have a quorum if he's appointed.
So that's the motion, you said what you said, and I said I'm feeling uncomfortable about it too.
Don't they have, it's a 9-person, am
no
I counting
conceit.
wrong? It looks
So
like they have,
they'll have 5.
Yeah. and that's a quorum,
Assuming all 5 of those can come to the January 8th meeting.
yeah. So they do have a quorum, that's,
Or do they need?
It's a 9-member
It's a-
commission,
yeah.
so 5 would be the tipping, 5 would be the quorum.
Okay.
Yeah, so if everybody shows, they're good.
Yeah. If everybody shows, I have no idea what they're,
I mean, admittedly, it's gonna be sometimes we have to have hard conversations, but
I mean, conflict of interest it can be a perceived conflict of interest, and that
Correct.
is a good discussion for everyone. I
Right.
mean, that's
Oh,
just a
sure.
good reminder.
Ourselves included.
Absolutely. It's just a good reminder in general, and I
I mean,
think
Phil recused himself
it
last meeting.
ties in with the open meeting law and things like that, so that's another training that, we would have on a regular basis. Conflict of interest is part of those conversations too.
But I'm really not comfortable making that judgment without the people involved being present to give their side of the picture.
Well, that's the plan going forward.
Oh,
The only issue is the timing.
Do we have the ability
Yeah.
to extend their term by a month?
Sure, we do
You know what I
anything,
mean?
right?
Say,
I'm not sure.
I mean,
I don't know. I don't
It's
know
a
what all the-
legislative thing. so
Yeah, it's-
Well, because
we may not
it's
have.
commission.
it's a 4-year term for planning commissions, that by state statute. I don't know that we can adjust some
arbitrarily
sort of a
just adjust it a month.
that I don't know for sure, so I couldn't confirm that at this moment.
Instead of making it a 4-year and 1-month term.
I'd feel
Don't
uncomfortable
know that
unless we looked
we
at
have the
that.
power to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
So there is a motion.
Yes,
I don't know
there
if there's
is.
more discussion on that motion. I'm not feeling comfortable, appointing one person.
That's
Yeah. So we could vote on it. I don't know if you want to.
We can vote on it or you can rescind it.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay.
If you're fine with that with your second.
Yeah, I was just following your lead just to get the discussion.
Right. I mean, if it's easier to do it as a group, it probably is easier to have the conversation as a group because it's not just people who are in green. There's other people throughout the commission who are. I think we need to.
So what I'm hearing is we won't appoint anybody in the planning commission, but we'll look, since we have nothing on our schedule.
Yeah, I know.
Now we're in the middle of
We'll look
budget.
at an appropriate time, ideally in January, to have a discussion. And, I guess we could ask the chair first, how, oh, there she is. I couldn't find her. What Maggie would like to do. Maybe she'd like to come in and explain to us what's gone on, or, she's
But
gonna.
again, do you want the people not to be present if you're actually talking about specific people rather than?
Well, I think the issue is the conflict of interest, so.
Right.
I
That's
mean,
what I'm
unless
hearing.
we're at the meetings and they're not televised, it's gonna be hard to say,
Well, they are televised.
Yeah.
are they?
Yes,
Yeah,
they're just
planning.
like the
I've
select
never
board.
watched them.
Yep, planning commission, DRB. and
DRB I watch, but I don't watch the planning
He only
commission.
watches himself.
Yeah, I don't watch that either. I don't even get it. I have to look on my computer.
So unless we're keeping the conversation very general to just conflict of interest in general across the board, then that would be appropriate just to have the chair there. But I think if we're getting into the details of specific situations and specific people, then I think it'd be best protocol to have those people there to have the conversation. But
What are you thinking, Tom?
thoughts?
I think we need to have those people there because they just happen to be the ones who are up for reappointment. But I think it would be helpful to reach out to Maggie
Yep,
certainly before
Yeah.
and
absolutely.
explain this conversation and
Yep.
Well, maybe we'll do that. I'll
Okay.
talk to her, let her know,
All right.
and then see where it goes from there.
But you did also say you had some concerns, people who aren't up for reelection.
Yeah.
And I think it's a more, I don't know. I don't know how to address it, but I just thought maybe this was the wrong time to address it, should have just let it go, but I'm more into, however I feel, at the end of the day, we've got a policy, and I think that policy has to be addressed
Well,
because
everyone
it has to do with, do we trust our committees, and do we,
So we have the policy. We can share it with everybody.
Yeah.
So we
It's
should
on the
all look
website.
at it closely. It's on the website.
It's on the
There you go.
website and the board and committee.
In my view, there may not have been conflict of interest in the minds of the individuals involved, but in the minds of other individuals, there is the appearance of conflict of interest, and that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
and we need to explain what the rules of conflict of interest are, right? So
Yeah.
like you had mentioned, they may feel, the individual may say, I don't feel there's a problem, and that's it. I don't know where the line
That's
is
it.
drawn. So if that's it,
There's, nobody else can come and say, yes, you have a conflict of interest. You must recuse yourself.
so do you even have a conversation at that point? I mean,
Well, here's the thing is, we might very well appoint all three of these individuals, but we're gonna have this conversation
Yeah, I
that
think
Tom is
that's-
asking
yeah.
for, and that's what I really applaud,
Yeah,
that
it
we're
sounds
able to
like
go
there's a
through. is-
concern that, you
is-
know, there was conflict of interest.
Yeah.
So let's discuss what, you know,
Right,
let's
and-
discuss what the policy is
Yeah.
and what that conflict of interest may have been.
And the appearance is very important, so I'm grateful that Tom brought this up, because if he feels this way, I'm sure there are many other people in town who feel this way, and that should be cleared up.
Yep, and that's what this is all about, is having that conversation, and Tom's making us do it, so good.
Okay.
Good for us.
All right.
So we're gonna have another long 6:30 start.
We'll see. We'll talk with Maggie.
You guys are gonna be spending Christmas.
Sorry, I just, you know, when it comes to that kind of stuff, I
Thanks, Tom.
you know.
What are you doing on Christmas? Christmas
Yeah.
Eve,
I'm free.
New
I'm
Year's
not working.
Eve, New Year's Day. We
All
could
right.
bring in the new year together.
We must decide by midnight.
In the middle of the year.
Well,
Next is the town administrator report.
all right.
Another week where nothing happened, huh?
Yeah, I just, someday, something's gonna happen to fill our time, but I don't know. So I attended a cybersecurity awareness training at Norwich University, put on by Homeland Security and FEMA. It's, you know, it's becoming a bigger and bigger conversation, and much more advanced ways of people getting into all different types of systems, you know, whether it's municipalities, and they sort of went through actual situations that have happened in cities across the nation, and just had happened like 2 days before the training of, you know, certain ones, and what a widespread impact that is, and financial, and just, you know, shutting off power grids, getting into water systems, you know, the SCADA systems, getting into the financial records, taking, you know, money out, just significant ways. So encouraging folks to really continue to remind people about, you know, just emails.
Don't
You
click
you
it.
don't click. Always, even if it looks like it's coming from someone or a business or a bank that you know, call the number you know. Don't call the number that's on the email.
It always looks like something.
Yes, and you know, they've been able to, you know, click onto a website and make the website look like the website you're familiar with, and it's really not. So, anyway, it was a really good, informative one. It's, you know, very eye-opening, but not only checking our business, but any support we get, making sure what systems they have in place, because we're exposed through some of our other vendors as well. So.
Well, you can probably speak to this too, but Norwich is a top institution.
They are,
in the
yeah, that's
country.
why it was held there,
You know,
and so
like
the
in
head of
country,
Norwich
you
in,
know, for
yes,
Is there a
they're one of the
VL
tops.
CT training or anything they could give to all our town employees?
Yeah, so there are some trainings that we've utilized through PASIF, and this one they had town managers, town administrators, and legislators attend this one. So yes, there's a lot of focus in cybersecurity and trying to stay ahead of, or at least with these people that are full-time jobs. These are full-time businesses this is what they do Monday through Friday, and look for new ways to infiltrate things. There was actually a setup of a person, they had a guy there, and they were saying, you know, your bank, all these things, this bank, you did exposure. He goes, oh, no, this is a small town, you know, my bankers, they know me, there's no way. So the woman came in right in front of him, had him sit there. She got on the phone, and while she's on the phone, she plays this baby crying sound, and so she pretends like she's at her loan closing, and she just needed her account number really quick, and the baby starts crying. She goes, oh, I'm so sorry, you know. Makes it sound like it's just a real situation. By the time the phone call was done, not only did she have access to his account, had the full access, and I don't even know maybe somehow she got his name removed, but he sat there with his jaw, they're like, oh my gosh. Just because they, they learned how to
They know
appeal
how
to
to do it,
human
yeah.
compassion, and now, they get an English-speaking person that can just sort of be very relatable and figure out how to do that. So it was.
So they've really, in the last few years, they've really improved.
Oh,
These
yes.
people who call
Yes,
and
there
with this heavy
more
accent from
things.
some foreign country tell you that the
Yes,
Social
no.
Security is after you. It's easy to hang up on those people.
Right, yeah, no, they've really come a long way. So that was very informative. Joy's been continuing to work with VLCT Passive, our loss control consultant, and department heads to get their OSHA trainings and policies and programs updated. Been spending a lot of considerable time on the budget. Union negotiations were postponed this week due to weather, so we have a new sidewalk maintainer.
Oh, great.
Yep, Jordan.
Jordan.
Or Jordan Air.
You like your Jordan?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Where did that come from?
And we'll have a new police officer, and as I said,
That's
January
great.
1st. Still
January
have a
1st, yeah.
January 1st. Highway maintainer position is still open. But we're making progress, so that's all I had.
All right. Any questions?
I have a comment.
I do have
Yes.
one
Yeah,
more
I
thing
think
up
it's
in
what
there.
you're probably gonna bring up. I saw the email.
All right, I sent the email
Oh.
to both of you guys,
Yeah,
I believe.
yeah.
If either one of you are comfortable doing that, our deadline was a little bit fungible for the survey, so we can still.
We're down to how many?
We are
more?
really, I don't know as of today, but as of Monday, we were at about 19. So if we could get across this finish line for them to at least look at it, doesn't mean we're gonna get this, but let's get them to look at our household median income. Otherwise, they can't even look at it. So that would be great if.
When did
All
it
right.
get extended to?
They really didn't put a date. They said, keep
Okay.
working on it.
Okay.
I'm happy. You did the last one. I'll do this one.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I think somebody posted on Front Porch Forum, I think that's where I saw this, that they said, they looked at the survey, and when it came to the question of personal income,
Yeah.
they just felt that was
Right.
over
Yeah.
the line.
Yeah.
So I feel that way too, so I can relate, but I did fill out my survey. But if you can somehow make people feel a little bit
Well,
more.
we've tried. I mean, we've put that in, if you-
We'll do it again, because
Yeah,
this,
right. I get that. Yeah.
yeah. And you can't trust anybody these days.
As we were just talking.
All right, so we will, try to put in there how it is an independent group
Yes.
that's not
We're
affiliated
not
with.
looking at.
Yeah.
Nope.
All right. Let's keep moving. Select Board Forum. I didn't write anything down. No? Minutes
Seems like we
from
just met a little while ago.
12:09. So we have one here from 12:09, but we have one that we didn't do the previous time, I
It was
think.
really long.
I guess I knew we talked about it for some reason, so I
Yeah.
can put that one in the
Okay.
January meeting.
So we'll need a motion to approve the minutes with amendments. I'll make that. Approve
I'll
the
second
minutes
it.
with amendments as noted.
From 12:09, we're
Is there a
talking, right?
yeah?
Yes.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Merrily.
All right.
Yep.
Any?
Yeah, I think
I looked at them. They're pretty good.
Name was spelled wrong in here somewhere. I forget where it was.
Renee's name?
Yeah, I think.
Well, it's weird because even though I have fixed it in my spell check, it keeps telling me it's wrong all the
Yeah,
time
same
anyway.
for me. Same for me.
Well,
I
if
saw it when I
Renee would
posted
spell
it
her name
correctly
right,
when I
we
posted
wouldn't have that problem.
National Resources Council is spelled wrong too. That should be resources, not recourses.
Our meetings go late,
Yeah. So these were a lot of minutes, and it was very involved, and I think you did a great job, Val, on
Oh, we're
getting.
talking about the ninth.
The ninth.
Yeah.
Oh, we're talking
Apparently,
about the
yes.
ninth.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm talking about
All
the
right, so
fourth.
let's do the ninth.
Okay, so on the 9th, on the first page, right at the top, Phil took a moment to acknowledge and recognize Joe Iadanza for his leadership and service to the town for the past 22 years. I didn't say that, Phil said that, but did Phil also say specifically Planning Commission?
We could add that in there.
In-
Leadership
Add that.
on,
Yeah.
on Planning Commission.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
And I don't know, it might be your words, might be worthy.
No,
Yeah.
I think I said planning commission.
Yeah, might be worthy just to
Sounds-
acknowledge his planning commission.
All right, anything else?
I don't know if it matters a whole lot, but, where did I see it? Under technology, the words website, it's actually one word, website. It's not two words, it's one word.
It is one word.
Yep. So, just a grammatical thing. I mean, back in the day, it used to be two words, but now it's one word.
New word now.
Yeah.
When they were talking about where spiders live.
Exactly.
All right, is that it?
Yeah, probably.
All right.
Oh, and RE. Okay, here it is. I found it. In attending the meeting, Phil, Aaron, Marilee, Tom, Jeff, and then somebody named Rianne.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, there it
Yeah.
is.
That's right. I knew somewhere it was.
I go by many names.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if she was here or not, or if you meant somebody else. Just teasing. Mine does the same thing though. Yeah, it never quite gets her name.
Yeah, and
but-
I keep, because you can fix it, and I do,
Yep.
and it still doesn't,
Yep.
yeah. Same with the word select board.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, so those are the amendments. All those in favor of the minutes with those amendments, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The warrants and payroll are behind.
I'll make a motion to approve the warrants to include payroll as presented by the clerk, which are here for review. Folks want it?
Anybody
I think
wants
we all
to?
signed it, Phil.
I
Did you
signed
get
it,
your
yeah.
peanut butter cups?
No, I didn't get peanut
Oh,
butter.
did I eat
That's
them
what
both?
happens
Oh, I'm sorry.
when you show up late. All right, all those in favor of approving warrants, including payroll, say aye.
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 Yep, they're all
Okay,
signed.
so now we had a discussion about going into executive session. If we are to go into executive session, we will stop the broadcast. We can't take any actions in executive session. If we were to take any actions, we would come out of executive session and they would be reflected in our minutes. So we'd need two motions to go into executive session. The first would be we'd be talking about ambulance service for the town, and an option for ambulance service is a contract with other towns, I guess other towns, other people, and another option would be to take that on ourselves, and another option would be to do nothing. But if we discuss the budget associated with taking it on ourselves, we would put ourselves at a disadvantage with any potential contracts we would be in. So I'd make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss this, and public discussion would put us at a disadvantage. We would include Joy and Renee, and that's it, and the select board.
Second it.
All right? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then we're allowed to go under executive session under provisions 1 V.S.A. 313, State Statute 313, A1, A2, and A3.
Second.
All right? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right.